Murdoch off the top rope.
It's time for Classic St. Louis Wrestling Volume 3. Hello, I'm Larry Matysik. Volume 3 is going to provide a complete look at why St. Louis wrestling was so special for so many years. There wasn't a day that I went into work at the office alongside the great promoter Sam Muchnick that I didn't realize how lucky I was, how much I was learning. I wish it could have lasted forever. And there was another gentleman, one of the all-time greats, Lou Thesz. He understood why St. Louis was so unique. Of the best 5 performers in the history of wrestling, Lou Thesz certainly is one of them. He also was a native of St. Louis. On August 17th, 1980, I taped Lou Thesz's interview on Wrestling at the Chase. Now you're going to have to forgive me because Lou sat with me during a match with Rufus R. Jones and Billy Howard, and I cut off the tape before the end of the match. So for the record, Rufus R. Jones won. But when you hear Lou Thesz, a true superstar, speak, you'll understand why I wanted to share this with you now.
But when you get to wrestling and you talk about the greats and you talk about St. Louis, you talk about Lou Thesz. Lou, it's great to have you back in town.
Well, thank you very much, Larry. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Larry, I'm really very pleased to be back to the seat of wrestling culture, and our mutual friend Sam Muchnick, of course, is largely responsible for that. But like Sam, like myself, and many others that have devoted their lives to wrestling, we were doing what we enjoyed doing. And sometimes if you continue to do that throughout your lifetime, you begin to learn something about it. You know, that's the way it goes.
Well, you've had some time now back in St. Louis. You had a chance to visit with some old friends and relatives, I guess.
Yes, my mother is here, and I had some visits with her, of course. And I just finished having lunch with she and my sister and her husband. And it's been a revelation to be back to our city. I'm up in Newport News, Virginia now in another business. Live on Chesapeake Bay, have a lot of fun eating the seafood and so forth. But when I get back home here, it's really a crazy magnet. It's tough to leave here again, you know.
I can imagine. Lou, 6 times holder of the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, we have a double main event here coming up in St. Louis, and I'm curious on your opinion about both matches. Let's take one at a time. First, Dick the Bruiser and Dick Murdoch inside the fence. How do you see that match?
Well, that's a very interesting one. You've got a couple of real bruisers there, and of course Murdoch is a very evasive fellow, and he's continually trying to run away from the heat, from the problems, you know. But I would really like to be here to witness that match because that's going to be an interesting one. There'll be a lot of lumps, as I like to tell you.
And nowhere to run with the fence there, so that takes away a little strategy from Murdoch, I guess.
Yes, well, that's what I say. The lumps are going to be flying because that's the bruiser's long suit, and of course Murdoch will have to try to retaliate, and it's going to be very interesting.
The other main event, Ted DiBiase and Nature Boy Ric Flair, 2 masters of the figure 4 leg lock.
Well, this Ric Flair is a seasoned hand by now. He's sort of a veteran. But I think this DiBiase boy, I saw him in Shreveport, Louisiana a couple of weeks ago. I think he's one of the brightest stars on the horizon today. He could very well reach the top. I'm really impressed with him. His father was a good wrestler, and he superseded that. I'm really impressed with this young man. Yeah.
And you talked before we came on the air about all the good young wrestlers you've seen. Anyone else who's caught your eye, particularly in St. Louis or around the country?
Well, a young man has just left the ring here, a young man by the name of David Von Erich. And this young man has a real aptitude for wrestling. It comes easy to him, and I can see that he likes what he's doing. And, of course, he'll burn the midnight oil because he enjoys what he's doing. But he is real championship timber. This fellow could reach the top probably more rapidly than anyone. He has the makeup for it, mental, physical. I think he's one of the stars that could really, he'll make a mark on him, in the wrestling world, I can tell you that.
And, of course, I can remember just a few years back some great battles that Lou Thesz had defending the gold belt against a gentleman by the name of Fritz Von Erich right here in St. Louis.
Yes, well, I don't mean to say anything unkind about Fritz, and he's had a great career. But I think this boy is going to do a better job than he did. He has a little more wrestling knowledge, basic knowledge. Fritz was a football player. But this young man begun to wrestle at an early age, and I can see the earmarks of it. And it's a matter of doing your homework. And the years you spend in the gym learning your craft, of course, is what pays off later. And he already has a basis. I can see that. His elementary experience has been very good.
Lou, we've got so much more we could talk about. Have you got a few minutes? You can join us at ringside for the next match?
You bet.
Lou Thesz with us now. He'll be with us at ringside for the second main event. We'll be back with more in a moment. Rufus R. Jones against Billy Howard. A special attraction on Wrestling at the Chase. With us at ringside is 6-time former world champion Lou Thesz. And Lou, I understand that next weekend here on Wrestling at the Chase, you're going to be on hand as a special referee. You like St. Louis so much.
I sure will, Larry, and I'm looking forward to it. I've been around the game long enough to know some of the rules. In fact, sometimes they wanted to tell me the rules the latter part of my career, and I said, well, I've been really quite oriented because I wrote some of them, you know.
Well, you certainly put a lot of the new moves that are into wrestling now. You feel like you're something of almost a revolutionary because some of the holds that you did first, so many guys now, it's almost standard. Things you did and a lot of guys use.
Oh, sure, that's true. Well, I've said this many, many times. Some of the veterans or old-timers say that wrestling used to be better and other things were better, but I don't go along with that. The moves that we thought were really inside things and sophisticated and sort of secretive is a commonplace thing today, and some of these young people that have done their homework are making moves that we never thought of, so it's like everything else. Wrestling has improved, and I think the future of wrestling is in very good hands, and it will be perpetuated forever with some of these young stars coming up.
That's good to hear from someone like Lou Thesz, and of course, Lou, you were the youngest man ever to hold the World Heavyweight Championship.
And the eldest.
And that's true, too, the youngest and the oldest. You talk about different styles. How about Rufus R. Jones? There's a very unique style, the movement of the legs and the body. How would you handle Rufus R. Jones?
Well, of course, my gimmick was wrestling. So what I'd try to do is disarm him and make his things as ineffective as possible, you know. And that's the best that you can do. And if you see some of the things that he does that work for him, why, of course, you try to upset his apple cart and head him off at the draw, as it were.
Lou, one thing I can recall from all of your matches, you always seem to stay in tight on an opponent, wanted to stay in there close. Any particular reason for that?
Well, that's the way we were coached. I had a fellow by the name of George Tregus coached me here in St. Louis. Ray Steele, Ed Stranger Lewis. Mr. Muchnick is familiar with all these names and the things that they did with us years ago. We trained 7 days a week, and that's the way they taught us. Just ride your opponent very, very closely. You know where he is at all times. You close your eyes, you know where he is. And that's where it is, you know.
Good point. And if you were blinded at perspiration in your eyes, it didn't matter because
That's right.
You could feel him. You knew what was there.
Some blind people are good wrestlers. Once they get their hands on you, you're in trouble.
Very true. Remember Big Bill Miller at one time in his native Ohio. He was involved in teaching blind children how to wrestle.
Yes, and some of them get very, very good. Once they get their hands on you, why, you're up against the same problem you would with a fellow that sees very well.
Billy Howard forces Rufus R. Jones to the ropes. Lee Warren trying to get Howard back, and Howard with a knee lift into the stomach. Another high knee lift from Billy Howard. He pulls Rufus R. Jones off the rope, but Rufus powers his way out and twists that arm.
And he's more knowledgeable, has more wrestling ability than people think. He's a sleeper.
Headbutt to the shoulder for Rufus R. Jones, put Billy Howard down. I guess that's true in a lot of wrestlers, isn't it, Lou? That people overlook their fundamental ability because Ric Flair with a fancy robe. They overlook the guy can wrestle.
Well, they laughed at Gorgeous George, but he was a darn fine wrestler. So that, you know, you just don't know. Now, Ric Flair's done his homework. He's a great athlete. And I know the matches that he's had here, he's really captured the wrestling fans here in St. Louis. And I'm sure they're going to look forward to seeing he and DiBiase because that should be something.
Tremendous pairing. Some good young talent. You talk about Von Erich and DiBiase.
Matchmaking is not an accident. You know, to be as successful in wrestling as Mr. Muchnick has been here, matchmaking is an art, and he's very artful at doing this. This is where it is, you know. Just to take names out of a hat doesn't mean anything. You got to know what you're doing.
Give the people what they want, so to speak.
You got it.
Rufus R. Jones still in charge against Billy Howard, twisting that arm, yanking the arm out. Howard getting a bit frustrated. That's another part of wrestling that you excelled at. I can remember so many times where you could get an opponent angry with a little slap here, a little elbow there.
Oh, sure, upset them, of course. And sometimes you upset them enough why they sort of forget what they learned, you know.
They let the emotions take charge of the head.
That's right, sure.
Rufus R. Jones' head took charge right there. Billy Howard threw a punch at the hard forehead of Rufus R., and Rufus takes Billy Howard to the corner.
Yeah, his style is so unique, you know. He upsets a lot of people because they don't understand what he's going to do next.
It's a good point. He doesn't come in as in the standard approach toward an opponent. He's got the legs moving, the arms moving. It has to throw you off balance.
Yes, he's very, very sharp. I've watched him. He squirms out of a headlock like an eel, you know.
Rufus R. Jones. Lou Thesz with us here at ringside on Wrestling at the Chase. Rufus twisting that arm.
A lot more power than you would imagine. You know, Ed Stranger Lewis was a great, great wrestler. In my opinion, the greatest the world has ever known. And he was a little overweight like Rufus. But the only one that bothered was the person that he was on top of.
5 minutes have expired, 5 minutes left.
Lou, we know you have some other commitments here in town. We'd like to thank you for spending some time with us, and we look forward to seeing you next week as a special referee on Wrestling at the Chase.
Thank you so much, Larry. I'm going to run out and have a little visit with my mother, and then I'll talk to you later.
Thank you very much.
So
Lou
good to be with
Thesz.
you.
Luthez talked about up-and-coming young stars in St. Louis during 1979 and 1980. We're going to get a look at a couple of them right now. First, Rocky Johnson. And yes, Rocky Johnson is the father of today's wrestling and movie hero, The Rock, Little Dwayne Johnson. I remember Rocky Johnson bringing Dwayne to a match in St. Louis when Rocky challenged for the World Heavyweight title held by Harley Race. Rocky Johnson was a good one, and you're going to see why now. Second, Kerry Von Erich. This will be Kerry Von Erich's first match on television in St. Louis, tagging with his brother Kevin Von Erich. We'll have highlights of that match at the time, November 17th, 1979. Kerry Von Erich was only 19 years old. Sit back and enjoy.
Rocky Johnson has been blazing hot since returning to St. Louis. Never has Johnson looked better. His speed, his strength, his versatility make Johnson a serious threat to Harley Race. Here is Johnson against Max Blue. Moved just a little bit more, and Blue totally off balance, completely out of whatever strategy he had in mind for this match against Johnson, all because of Rocky's movement. When Blue wasn't even near him, Blue dove for the leg and missed, and Rocky just dances away, and the crowd loves it. Watch Rocky polish off Blue. Johnson muscles his way up. Blue twists the arm of Rocky, flips him to the ropes, throws an elbow smash that misses. There's that drop kick from Rocky Johnson. Rocky to the air with a second drop kick. Blue staggers to his feet. Sunset flip by Rocky Johnson. This could be all over. Oh no, Blue managed to pop that arm away at the count of 2. Rocky with a flying mare. Rocky nearly put Blue away with the sunset flip. Now Johnson lifts Blue into the backbreaker hold. The hanging backbreaker by Rocky Johnson. And Max Blue has no choice but to submit. Bruce Langford tried to stop Johnson. Langford catches Johnson in the corner. And a pair of hard blows to the stomach and then a forearm smash to the neck of Rocky Johnson. Langford with a punch to the top of Johnson's head. That didn't do much good for Langford. An elbow smash to the head. That didn't have much effect either on Rocky Johnson, whose headbutt is quite an effective weapon for him. Langford grabs Johnson's arm, pitches him across the ring to the ropes. Rocky leaps up behind Langford, nips across the ring, catches Langford, grabs that leg and pitches Langford over the top. Langford whipped to the ropes by Rocky Johnson. Drop kick by Rocky Johnson. The flying feet of Rocky Johnson take to the air. Langford dropped by Johnson. Rocky grabs ahead. Lifts Langford over with a suplex. The suplex by Rocky Johnson. He covers Langford. And there's a count of 3. A pair of drop kicks followed by the suplex. And Rocky Johnson with that suplex records a victory again. Take a look at Bill White testing Johnson. Refuses to budge off those ropes as White tries to pull him. This time White pitches Johnson. That's why Rocky let him pitch him. And Rocky takes to the air with a drop kick. Rocky nimbly to his feet. White takes another drop kick. Down goes Bill White. Rocky Johnson hooks that head, goes underneath. Oh, shades of Harley Race, the suplex. Shades of the world heavyweight champion, Rocky Johnson, with a suplex. And he covers Bill White. An easy and impressive victory for Rocky Johnson. He was never in trouble. Johnson also squared off with Juan Zapata. Zapata working on the face of Rocky Johnson as Johnson's in the corner. Zapata works on the eyes of Rocky Johnson, trying to blind Johnson. Zapata contends to the referee that he was working on the eyebrows above the eyes. Whatever, when you have your eyelids and your forehead raked and scraped while you're perspiring, that stings, that hurts, and Johnson goes to town on Zapata. Johnson belts Zapata. Flying knee by Rocky Johnson. There's the drop kick by Rocky Johnson. Zapata knocked across the ring. Rocky lifts Johnson high in the air. Hard body slam. That was a sizzler. Johnson does it again, ramming Zapata to the mat. Rocky Johnson takes Zapata to the ropes, whips him across the ring with one arm. Hard forearm smash. Right underneath the chin. Down goes Zapata, count of 2 and 3. With the forearm smash. A perfectly legal blow, a forearm smash. Look on his face. Gil Guerrero tried to break Johnson's winning streak. Rocky stopped still, dead still for a moment. Then when Guerrero reached out, Rocky just stepped aside.
5 minutes of a lap, 5 minutes left.
Rocky Johnson moves behind Gil Guerrero. Guerrero tosses Johnson, comes up with an arm lock on Rocky Johnson. Johnson coming to his feet. Johnson trying to push back on Guerrero, thus loosening the grip, then grabs Guerrero from behind, pitches him to the ropes. Both men hit the ropes. Guerrero ducks. Johnson with a drop kick. Johnson with a second drop kick. Guerrero doesn't know where Johnson's coming from. Rocky, there's that hanging backbreaker. The hanging backbreaker tremendously punishing submission hold. Guerrero screaming in pain, and Gil Guerrero submits quickly. The hanging backbreaker by Rocky Johnson polishes off Gil Guerrero. Still another victory, still another method to gain that triumph from Rocky Johnson. The youngest Von Erich, Carey, made his TV debut as Kevin's partner.
5 minutes left, 5 minutes.
5 minutes remain in the curfew. No falls yet. The Von Erich brothers, Carey and Kevin, against Real Guzman and Tom DeMarco. Guzman with a flying mare on Carey. Carey punches back. Drop kick by Carey. Oh, he takes to the air. Carey leapfrogs over the top. He has a jackknife and rolling cradle. And Guzman's over. Stick around. Dory Funk Jr. is next. Cradle by Carey Von Erich gives the first fall to the Von Erich brothers.
Mike Huber was Dick the Bruiser's son-in-law, and one of Huber's earliest matches in St. Louis was against Dick Murdoch. He didn't even have the nickname of Spike then, but you'll see why they called him Spike Huber very quickly.
Dick Murdoch and controversy are not strangers. That's obvious from what you've already seen. Now, here is Murdoch in action against fiery Mike Huber. In his command, slaps Mike Huber, and Huber's not taking anything from Murdoch. You know that Mike Huber is Dick the Bruiser's son-in-law, and he would like a taste of revenge. The drop kick knocks Murdoch into the corner. Mike Huber pounding on the head of Murdoch. Flying meal. Murdoch still with his jacket on. Drop kick knocks Murdoch through the ropes and out of the ring, and Murdoch takes a walk clear back to the dressing room. Murdoch's pure toughness, however, enabled him to bounce back. Huber staggered. Murdoch taking charge right now. Mike Huber pitched head first into the buckle. That showed you some of Murdoch's strength right there as he lifted Huber into the air and threw him head first against that buckle. Knee drop to the head. Shades of Harley Race right there. Another knee drop against the head by Murdoch. The Missouri champion driving his knee into the head of Mike Huber. That's what Harley Race will get, says Dick Murdoch, as he covers Huber, but he can't keep him down. Murdoch thought he had a pin there. Kick right to the head by Dick Murdoch. Another kick to the head. Huber taking a pounding now at the hands of Dick Murdoch. Huber trying to keep his feet. Murdoch smiles. The first time he smiled in this entire battle. Huber refusing to quit, but taking a pounding. Huber fights back with a forearm smash. Murdoch with the uppercut. A brutal display by Missouri State champion Dick Murdoch. Huber lifted. Murdoch keeping his balance. What's he got in mind here? A running body slam? Oh, Murdoch jamming Huber into the mat. A running body slam. This could be it. Oh, Murdoch not content. Now he's going to try to hurt Huber, it looks like. No reason for this at all. But Dick Murdoch, his pride stung, grabs Huber, setting him up for the Texas Brainbuster, the suplex if you prefer. Huber would have been pinned easily before this, but Murdoch wasn't satisfied. Murdoch this time is satisfied, and Dick Murdoch, with a vicious demonstration of modern wrestling, pounds down Mike Huber.
St. Louis always had plenty of exciting spot shows too. They didn't get a whole lot of credit, but they provided plenty of excitement. I can remember Sam's partner, Wild Bill Longson. What a great guy he was, running spot wrestling cards from Waverly, Illinois to Swansea, Illinois to Festus, Missouri. And our good friend Herb Simmons ran a really terrific program in Dupo, Illinois at the high school. We have rare footage of that thanks to Herb. You're going to enjoy it because the main event is King Kong Brody versus Abdullah the Butcher. Fasten your seatbelts.
King Kong Brody and Abdullah the Butcher. You can see why people in St. Louis everywhere got excited about seeing wrestling. And this match is certainly one people talked about for a long time. Certainly in Dupo, Illinois at the high school where they had over 2,200 people packed into that gym as Abdullah the Butcher locked up with Brody and pushes Brody into the corner. Referee Lee Warren trying to get a break, but if you know Abdullah the Butcher and you know King Kong Brody, well, you know it's not Lou Thesz against Pat O'Connor. But that's what makes wrestling great, because you have different styles and different ways to attack people. And there's one way: stand on the throat of Brody when you weigh about 400 pounds, as Abdullah the Butcher did. Abdullah the Butcher was a very controversial character. He wasn't in any one territory, any one town for a very long time, because really he was just hard to handle. King Kong Brody had a reputation like that sometimes too. But ironically, a lot of people thought that Brody would not get along with promoter Sam Muchnick in St. Louis, and it was just the opposite. They became very good friends. If you asked Brody who were the three promoters that he respected the most in the wrestling world, I'm sure he would have told you: the Giant Baba in Tokyo, Japan, Paul Bosch in Houston, and Sam Muchnick in St. Louis, because he knew if they gave each other their word, if they shook hands on it, that's the way it was going to be. No shaking hands here as Brody and Abdullah the Butcher. Brody with a cut opened up on his forehead already from Abdullah the Butcher, and watch Butcher like a shark, scenting blood, smelling it, going after the wound, going after the injury on Brody's head. Abdullah the Butcher going after his long-avowed enemy, and King Kong Brody wanting to finish it once and for all. Dupo, Illinois, the site, as King Kong Brody finds himself almost fighting for his life against Abdullah the Butcher as Abdullah starts pounding on the head of King Kong Brody. Abdullah never was shy about using anything he'd find. He's picked up forks, he's picked up bottles, he's picked up all sorts of foreign objects. He'd do anything he could. To him, wrestling was a war. And his most exciting matches were against people like King Kong Brody, who said, well, I can wrestle. If I have to, I can throw drop kicks. I can do hammerlocks. But if you want a war, I'll give you a war. Right now, though, the war was not going in the way that King Kong Brody wanted it to go. Abdullah pulling back on the head of Brody, turning Brody into that corner. Abdullah putting the pressure on. Headbutt by Abdullah the Butcher. Brody staggered, bleeding. Referee Lee Warren keeping an eye on things, but he's probably knowing best right now is just let them slug it out. Find out who's the toughest, who's the meanest, who's going to last the longest. Brody making a comeback. He hits the ropes, and a big boot right to the top of Abdullah the Butcher's head. Abdullah the Butcher taking another kick, another boot from King Kong Brody, another kick right to the jaw. Abdullah the Butcher hanging onto those ropes, in deep trouble now. And you can see that a cut has been opened up on the head of Abdullah the Butcher. Abdullah bleeding as Brody pounds on Abdullah the Butcher. Brody hitting the ropes again, wanting every bit of extra energy he can get for a kick up against the ear of Abdullah the Butcher. Herb Simmons was probably wondering right there, boy, what did I get myself in for with a main event like this? Abdullah the Butcher and King Kong Brody. But I'm sure that Herb Simmons at that point was like every other fan in that building. He was standing in rapt attention, watching every move these two giants of wrestling were doing. Brody, Abdullah trying to destroy each other. Brody with a chop to the head of Abdullah. Brody on the offensive now. Abdullah hanging onto the ropes, trying to keep his feet as Brody pounds on the head, pounds on the lacerated head of Abdullah the Butcher. The blood spilling out of the forehead, down the chest, down the arms of Abdullah the Butcher. Abdullah in deep trouble now. He had the offensive early, but now King Kong Brody lashing out with all his might, with all his fury, and Abdullah the Butcher in deep, deep trouble. Can Brody put him down? Can Brody get his shoulders on the mat? Can Brody make him say that he'll quit? Well, it's going to be tough. And Brody knows it, even going to biting King Kong Brody. Lee Warren, the referee, who's been in so many big matches by this point in his career, knowing that this might have been his toughest challenge, trying to keep some sort of order between Abdullah the Butcher and King Kong Brody. Abdullah fighting back. A chop to the head. Remember, Brody was already cut. Abdullah pitching Brody through the ropes outside the ring. Remember, this was a high school gym, and like all high schools, they're pretty protective of their floors, so the crowd was all up in the bleachers, and it gave Brody and Abdullah room to roam. Maybe that wasn't such a good thing. They're fighting outside the ring now, looking for the furniture they can use on each other, trying to batter each other into destruction. Brody picks up the ring bell and slams it into the head of Abdullah the Butcher. Abdullah reeling after taking the bell to the head, but then he slams Brody's head into a table. Brody grabs a chair. Look out. Abdullah the Butcher catching the chair right across the forehead. Brody going after Abdullah with the chair again, trying to drive it into the throat of Abdullah the Butcher, but the Butcher, he's like a tank. You can't destroy him. Down goes referee Lee Warren. His attempt to keep some order quickly going by the wayside. Headbutt by Abdullah, then a chop again to referee Lee Warren, who by now is on the floor and calling for help, realizing there is no way one man can keep these two apart. See Lee Warren asking for help from the dressing room, hoping the other wrestlers on the undercard will come out and give him a hand, trying to break up Brody and Abdullah. Look at the packed crowd there behind Brody and Abdullah. Here comes one wrestler. Abdullah grabs him. Brody, Abdullah, they couldn't care less who's in between them. They have sights for only one thing, and that is kicking the tar out of each other. Anybody that gets in the way, they're going to be in trouble. Brody and Abdullah. Here comes Gary Jackson. Night Train Gary Jackson trying to break it up. Brody, who liked Jackson, with a kick to Jackson's chest, knocking him down. He probably didn't even know it was Gary Jackson. Another guy grabs Brody. Brody grabs him by the head, slams him into the concrete wall, not the pad. Brody's so angry, so out of control, he slammed him into the concrete wall. There's Brody with a water cooler going after Abdullah the Butcher. No way to break it up. Abdullah the Butcher. King Kong Brody, one of the greatest feuds in wrestling history. Brody, Abdullah, and they were in St. Louis like so many other stars.
Sam Muchnick was a brilliant promoter. He understood his audience, and the foundation of what St. Louis was built upon was wrestling at the Chase. Sam Muchnick, wrestling at the Chase every week for over 20 years, provided a classy look at St. Louis wrestling. Now let's go back to back, July 27th, 1980 and August 3rd, 1980, and savor what wrestling at the Chase was all about.
A girls match, 2 tag team battles, and Missouri State champion Ken Patera are all part of an explosive package today on Wrestling at the Chase. Hello, I'm Larry Matisic, and what a lineup today. Just take a look at one of the tag matches. It sends Von Roschke and Dick Murdoch against David Von Erich and Ted DiBiase. I'm sure you will agree that is an explosive combination. Just look at one aspect of it. Von Roschke claims to be the true master of the claw, and you know, of course, the Von Erich history with the Iron Claw, and also think back to some of the battles that Murdoch and DiBiase have had here in St. Louis. Now, we'll be right back with the opening bout after these important messages.
Welcome to Wrestling at the Chase, the opening bout, a one fall with a 10-minute time limit. Introducing from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, weighing 142 pounds, Judy Martin. And from Window Rock, Arizona, weighing 138 pounds, Winona Littleheart. Referee Chuck Riley.
Winona Littleheart, also a popular figure in St. Louis, removes her pre-match garb, and she's doing battle with Judy Martin. Judy Martin a bit impatient as Winona removes the leather skirt, and she's ready for action against Judy Martin. A pair of top contenders for the ladies' title belonging to the Fabulous Moolah. Wristlock by Winona Littleheart on Judy Martin, who counters nicely into a hammerlock on Winona. Nice counter by Winona. Flying mare from Judy Martin. And Winona Littleheart backs off for a second to regroup. Winona dumps Judy Martin and comes up with a step-over toe hold on Martin. Winona Littleheart with a step-over toe hold on Judy Martin, who goes to the ropes, grabs the second rope. Winona yanks Judy Martin off the ropes. And then once more steps over with the toe hold on Judy Martin. Winona jerking the leg of Judy Martin around. Martin reaches for the hair of Winona Littleheart and throws Littleheart off balance. She comes up with her own step-over toe hold, but Chuck Riley does not allow Judy Martin to keep it because she was pulling hair. Judy Martin not too happy with the ruling of Chuck Riley, but the crowd liked it. The crowd is solidly aligned with Winona Littleheart, and that's no surprise. Judy Martin, a very tough and rough competitor. She's not worried about getting cheers, just victories. Hard blast from Judy Martin. Littleheart takes a long look at Judy Martin. Hammerlock by Littleheart on Judy. Littleheart twisting that arm up behind the back of Judy Martin. Martin heads for the ropes. Littleheart will have to release the grip and does so quickly. Littleheart and Martin, both very cautious right now. No advantage either way at this point. They've both had their moments. Finally they tie up, and Littleheart twists the arm of Judy Martin. The crowd urges on Winona Littleheart, but it's Martin who's able to come up with the arm twist arm bar combination. Look at the pressure she's putting into Winona Littleheart's wrist, bending that hand forward. And now into a hammerlock by Judy Martin on Winona Littleheart. Judy reaching in. What she did? She taking a bite? She took a bite, I think, out of the finger of Winona Littleheart. And now while Martin and Riley argue, Martin on the blind side is strangling Winona Littleheart. There's Judy Martin again taking a bite into the fingers of Winona Littleheart. Chuck Riley trying to figure out what's going on. He's assuming that Martin was spreading the fingers and pulling one finger, which of course would be illegal. Any grip has to involve at least 4 fingers. Littleheart with a chop to the stomach of Judy Martin. And then Martin gouges the eyes of Winona Littleheart. Judy Martin opening up with some rough tactics against Winona Littleheart. A knee to the side of Winona's head. Martin lifts Littleheart and throws a punch into the throat of Winona Littleheart. Judy Martin proving to be a very tough, hard-nosed competitor. And Littleheart has been shaken by the attack from Judy Martin. Littleheart battles back with a blow to the midsection. Judy Martin's in the hair again, and a forearm smash levels Winona Littleheart. That was a legal blow, of course. It was the forearm. Martin bouncing the ears and the head of Winona. Judy Martin covers Winona Littleheart. At the count of 2, Martin is flipped off by Winona. Winona Littleheart. Her father was a professional wrestler. But down she goes again. Compliments of Judy Martin. Martin puts the throat of Littleheart over that top rope and then jerks the throat, the windpipe, into the top rope. And Judy Martin is making this very miserable for Winona Littleheart, but Littleheart, a scrappy competitor, refuses to quit, and a tomahawk chop flattens Judy Martin. That might buy Littleheart some time. She goes for the body press. Count of 1, and at 2, Littleheart's pushed away.
5 minutes have elapsed, 5 minutes left.
Halfway home in the curtain raiser today on Wrestling at the Chase, and it's been a rough match between Judy Martin and Winona Littleheart. Martin lifting Littleheart and strangling her in the blind side of the referee. Everybody's expecting a body slam, and instead Martin, who's very strong, is strangling Littleheart. Riley running around trying to see what is happening around the throat. Now he catches Martin strangling Littleheart. And then Littleheart is dropped throat first across the top rope. A rather impressive display of strength from Judy Martin. Littleheart really groggy now. She has taken a beating from Judy Martin. Martin with the elbow smash as Littleheart came flying off those ropes. Judy Martin goes for the pin. At 2, just before 2, Littleheart refuses to break. Winona fighting back once more. She just will not quit. What a scrapper, Winona Littleheart. Tomahawk chop to the throat, and that was right on the money. Judy Martin now gasping to get her win back, and Winona Littleheart goes into a war dance, dragging Judy Martin along. Another tomahawk chop. Littleheart tries for a pin, cannot get it. Winona Littleheart now, she's on the offensive and trying to polish off Judy Martin, a flying heel. Oh, the drop kick missed. The drop kick by Winona Littleheart missed as Judy Martin coolly stepped aside. Martin with a kick to the back of Winona Littleheart. Just when things started to go Winona's way, everything backfired because of that missed drop kick. Up and over. Hard spill by Winona Littleheart. Judy Martin with that backflip.
3 minutes left.
Chuck Riley taking a close look because it appeared as though Winona Littleheart could have been hurt in that spill. She's banged into the turnbuckles by Judy Martin. A kick to the stomach from Judy Martin. Another kick to the midsection from Martin. Littleheart hurled across the ring. Littleheart mounts the ropes. Oh, flying cross body block. Count of 1, 2, and 3. What a spectacular maneuver by Winona Littleheart. Tossed into the corner. She used her head, got up on that second rope, leaped off the second rope with a flying cross body block, and flattened Judy Martin for the pin. It was a hard-earned victory, but a big victory for Winona Littleheart. Let's hear from Mickey Garagiola.
In 7 minutes and 24 seconds, a flying body slam. The winner, Winona Littleheart. The first main event, a one fall with a 20-minute time limit, an Australian tag team match. Introducing from Denton, Texas, weighing 238 pounds, David Von Erich. From Omaha, Nebraska, weighing 250 pounds, Ted DiBiase. From Germany, weighing 283 pounds, Von Raschke. And from Waxahachie, Texas, weighing 260 pounds, Dick Murdoch. Referee Lee Warren, Chuck Riley.
Dick Murdoch and Von Raschke, a rough and tumble combination if you've ever seen one, against Ted DiBiase and David Von Erich, two of the finest young wrestlers you also will ever see. Believe me, when you talk about top contenders for who might be the world heavyweight champion after Ken Patera and title holder Harley Race square off, you can pick any one of the four men in the ring in this match, and either Race or Patera, who's ever the world champion, would have his hands full. Murdoch goes behind DiBiase. Atomic knee drop. DiBiase blocked it. DiBiase blocked it. He lifts Murdoch, and atomic knee drop by DiBiase to Dick Murdoch. Ted DiBiase back in St. Louis for the first time in over a year, and he bounces Dick Murdoch with that atomic knee drop. Murdoch had the tag in Von Raschke, and Raschke hasn't been on St. Louis television for about 3 or 4 years. Beautiful fireman's carry by Von Raschke. Don't kid yourself about Von Raschke. He is a brilliant wrestler. He has a terrible temper. He always did when he was one of the finest amateur grapplers in the country. He excelled in Greco-Roman wrestling. But that temper always was in the way. He could lose his temper easily. He hasn't changed at all in the professional ranks, but he has so much skill, so much power. Well, he's almost unstoppable. And right now it's Von Raschke in the ring against Ted DiBiase. Raschke, who claims to be the true master of the Iron Claw. And you know that Raschke jumped at this opportunity because he has a showdown coming up with David Von Erich, and the day he's across from David in a tag team affair. Here comes David Von Erich. He grabs Raschke and bangs away on Raschke's head. Side headlock by David Von Erich on Von Raschke, who has an open challenge to any of the Von Erich family for a Battle of the Claws. Well, he has that coming up now against David Von Erich. The Battle of the Claws, Von Raschke and David Von Erich. And, of course, also coming up on that same card, the battle between the Missouri State champion, Ken Patera, and the world heavyweight title holder, Harley Race, with Lou Thez, the all-time great, the native of St. Louis, as the special referee. Raschke pitches Von Erich to the ropes. Von Erich over the top, and with a drop kick, floors Von Raschke. Side headlock, over the hip, down goes Raschke. David Von Erich in command and keeping a close eye on Dick Murdoch. Raschke trying to put the shoulders of David Von Erich down, but couldn't keep him there. He tries once more. Lee Warren, here's the crowd yelling, and catches Von Raschke, pulling tights, and then shoves David Von Erich back over on top. Side headlock by David Von Erich on Von Raschke. And Lee Warren balls out Dick Murdoch, chases him back to the corner because Murdoch was reaching in. Raschke trying to struggle to his feet. Von Erich with that side headlock on Von Raschke. Raschke's been dominating main events throughout the Southlands in the last year or so. Raschke pitches Von Erich to the ropes. Hip toss by Von Raschke. He goes for the claw and misses. Von Erich rolled away. There's that side headlock again. Raschke making an early attempt to catch David Von Erich with the claw. Here comes Murdoch. He's got the tag rope, and DiBiase gets there first. DiBiase grabs the tag rope away from Murdoch and puts it around Murdoch's throat. DiBiase strangling Murdoch with the tag rope. rope that Murdoch brought into the ring. Well, that certainly backfired on Dick Murdoch. He pulled that tag rope loose and came running after David Von Erich, but Ted DiBiase came to the rescue of David Von Erich and ended up strangling Murdoch, which was what Murdoch had in mind for David Von Erich. David Von Erich over the top of Raschke, hits the rope, oh, and Raschke nails Von Erich with a knee lift to the stomach. Tag is made on both sides of the ring, and it's Murdoch who has to square off with DiBiase. Murdoch complains to Raschke about the tag not being quick enough, but it certainly wasn't Raschke's fault. Had Murdoch been in the corner, he could have made that tag. So Murdoch is certainly wrong in blaming Von Raschke, but then again, you know Murdoch's history with tag team partners. He's had his problems staying alive with anyone for any length of time. And that goes from Mickey Garagiola to King Kong Brody, who's in Japan and not at all happy about some of the things he's been hearing Dick Murdoch say. Murdoch slugs DiBiase to the canvas. Raschke stomps on the mat and yells at Murdoch. Raschke, those eyes bugged out as he yells at Murdoch to follow up the advantage, and Murdoch drops DiBiase.
5 minutes have passed, 15 minutes left.
Ted DiBiase in trouble here. Once more, DiBiase blocks that atomic knee drop on Murdoch. Murdoch blocks the atomic knee drop of DiBiase. Well, they're blocking either way. That one scores. That atomic knee drop hit the mark. And so did that forearm smash. Murdoch leveled by DiBiase. Side headlock. Down goes Dick Murdoch. Frantic action today on Wrestling at the Chase, and what more could you expect with a tag team combination like this? Ted DiBiase with a side headlock on Dick Murdoch. Murdoch looking out from inside that headlock for Raschke. Murdoch with an uppercut that spun DiBiase right around. Claw yells. Oh, he yelled a claw at Raschke. And Raschke gets the claw on Murdoch. Raschke has the claw on Murdoch. He missed DiBiase. Murdoch couldn't hold on to the aggressive Ted DiBiase, and Raschke ended up with the claw on Murdoch, and now Murdoch and Raschke have a little disagreement. Dick Murdoch, he'll try anything, he'll do anything, and sometimes it backfires on him. It certainly did there. Raschke forces DiBiase to the ropes, and DiBiase fights back. DiBiase and Raschke were toe-to-toe. Murdoch got in it. Here comes David Von Erich after Murdoch. Murdoch powers in the corner. Now he fights back against David Von Erich. All four men in the ring. Finally, Murdoch gouges the eyes of David Von Erich. Meanwhile, Raschke has a headlock on Ted DiBiase. Believe me, the action is being generated not just by the two people in the ring, but the two outside the ring have been involved just as much. Dick Murdoch, not too happy with the commentary out here, but Murdoch says he's had enough of this. He's going back outside. I don't know if he means outside the ring or outside the building. You never know with Murdoch. He is controversy personified. Here comes Murdoch. He comes up behind DiBiase, who did not see the tag made. Try this one, yells Murdoch at DiBiase as he bangs the elbow off the jawbone of Ted DiBiase. DiBiase sags to the rope, but comes off with a forearm smash. Side headlock briefly by Murdoch, and then he pounds a fist into the head of DiBiase. Two former Missouri State champions in there right now, Murdoch and DiBiase. Here we go, yells Murdoch. He hooks ahead. He's going for the Brain Buster. The suplex of the Brain Buster, either name you want. And Murdoch drops DiBiase with the Brain Buster. This could be it. Count of two. Oh, and DiBiase. DiBiase pushes off Murdoch, and Murdoch is incensed. He tags Raschke. Raschke trying to follow up the attack. He hoists DiBiase for a backbreaker. The backbreaker by Roschke. At 2, DiBiase just won't stay down. Front rolling cradle, a small package by DiBiase. Roschke quickly breaks free. He's a strong, powerful man. Roschke whips DiBiase to the ropes. Oh, Roschke was trying to flip DiBiase. DiBiase nailed him with a kick. Here comes David Von Erich. David Von Erich pounds on Roschke. Drop kick knocks Roschke to the corner. DiBiase right back on top of him. Across the ring goes Roschke. Up and over the top goes Von Roschke. David Von Erich poisons the claw, and Roschke blocks the claw. Roschke blocks the claw. Here comes Murdoch. Von Erich went for the claw on Von Roschke. Whose claw is better? The one of Von Roschke or the one of the Von Erich family? Murdoch's knee lifted to the air, and it bangs into the head of David Von Erich. Roschke chased out of the ring by the referees. Murdoch back on the assault against David Von Erich. Hot and heavy action. What more could you want from any wrestling match, from any wrestling card? David Von Erich tosses Murdoch to the ropes. Flying tackle flattens David Von Erich.
10 minutes have expired, 10 minutes left.
David Von Erich with the claw on Murdoch. Roschke charging into the ring, and he's after David Von Erich. David still hanging on with the claw. Now Roschke with the claw. Roschke with the claw on Von Erich. The Von Erich's own weapon being used against them. Von Roschke with the claw on David Von Erich. Roschke digging in. David Von Erich sagging, starting to lose consciousness as Roschke uses the Von Erich's own weapon against them. David back on his feet, trying to keep his consciousness, trying to keep his head up. He has the claw on Roschke. Both men with claws. Roschke with the claw on Von Erich. Von Erich with the claw on Roschke. They end up in the ropes. If they can get either man to release the claw, finally, both claws broken. The claw against the claw. Boy, you saw it graphically right there. Roschke and David Von Erich. Knee lift by DiBiase flattens Roschke. Body slam by DiBiase. Here comes Murdoch. He breaks up a potential pin. And DiBiase is angrily after Murdoch. DiBiase and Murdoch. DiBiase knocking Murdoch down to the apron. Roschke and David Von Erich battling in the middle of the ring. Murdoch pulls DiBiase outside. Murdoch slamming him into the table. Down goes Ted DiBiase. Murdoch slanging him into the announcer's table. Meanwhile, Roschke and David Von Erich have had their own Donnybrook. Oh, Murdoch slammed into that table. Again, Murdoch driven into the table by DiBiase. DiBiase and Murdoch having a Donnybrook outside the ring. Roschke trying to get out there to see what's going on. David Von Erich and Roschke inside the ring toe-to-toe. The referees try to separate them. Murdoch with a microphone tangled up around him. Holly Hofstetter trying to untangle Dick Murdoch from the cabling outside. As we try to reestablish our building here. DiBiase, atomic knee drop to Von Roschke. Tag made to David Von Erich. Roschke catches a punch from both David Von Erich and Ted DiBiase. Roschke puts his foot on the ropes to avoid being pinned. What more could happen in this match? They've wrecked ringside, I'll guarantee you that. The dropkick floors Roschke. David Von Erich, though, keeping a wary eye on Murdoch. He knows you can never count him out. Murdoch yells Roschke. David Von Erich flung head first into the top turnbuckle. Murdoch lifts David Von Erich and pounds on Von Erich's head. Lee Warren and Chuck Riley, the referees, trying to maintain some sort of order in this knockdown, drag-out, back alley brawl. Murdoch tosses David Von Erich to the ropes. and nails him with an elbow right to the chin. Murdoch, flying elbow drop. And then Murdoch spits at DiBiase. Here comes DiBiase. Ted DiBiase not in the mood to take anything from Murdoch or Raschke. David Von Erich carried over to the corner. Raschke pounding on David Von Erich as Murdoch holds Von Erich's arms. Murdoch yells something at DiBiase. Raschke pounding on David Von Erich. Murdoch and DiBiase about ready to square off again. Raschke misses the claw. Raschke missed the claw. Tag made to DiBiase. DiBiase pounds away on Von Raschke. Spins him with a punch. Down goes Raschke. Flying elbow drop. Try for a pin. At 2, Raschke shoves off DiBiase. DiBiase and Murdoch once more take a long look at one another. Fists are clenched. Lee Warren trying to break those fists up, but I think by this point it's almost impossible to stop Murdoch and DiBiase from going on one another hammer and tongue, just as it is to stop Raschke and David Von Erich.
15 minutes have passed, 5 minutes left. 5 minutes.
Murdoch charges into the ropes and knocks Riley right off the apron. Down goes Murdoch. The referee, Chuck Riley's been hurt. He's been knocked off the apron. DiBiase goes for the figure 4. The figure 4 leg lock by Ted DiBiase on Dick Murdoch. Here comes Raschke. And there's David Von Erich with a claw on Raschke. Raschke trying to get a DiBiase to break up the figure 4. David with the claw on Raschke. David dragging Raschke outside the ring with the claw. Look at that. Raschke being pulled outside the ring by the iron claw of David Von Erich. Finally, the referee gets David Von Erich and Raschke separated, while Murdoch simply refuses to quit against DiBiase. Raschke just won't quit. He's after DiBiase, stomping on him, and the figure 4 is finally broken. David Von Erich tried to get at Raschke, but Chuck Riley, who took a hard blow, stopped him. You have to admire these referees. Even they're taking their lumps in this tag match. Here comes David Von Erich. Both men, Von Erich and DiBiase, slip Raschke for a double atomic knee drop. Can you believe some of the excitement that you have seen in this match? Simply unreal action. Try for a pin, Raschke lifts that arm and manages to push off the hip of David Von Erich. Knee lift by David Von Erich on Raschke. Murdoch crawling up behind Von Erich, but David spotted him. And Raschke charges into Von Erich, who had his eye on Murdoch. Hip toss by Raschke on David Von Erich.
3 minutes left. 3 minutes.
3 minutes remaining. And for 17 minutes, the duos, one side, Von Raschke and Dick Murdoch, the other, David Von Erich and Ted DiBiase, have simply been spectacular, sensational. The short arm scissors by Raschke on David Von Erich. David Von Erich rolled Raschke into a cradle. Murdoch kicked Von Erich, and that allows Raschke to keep the short arm scissors, or the figure 4 arm lock, if you prefer that name for it. David Von Erich manages to lift the shoulder. Give up, yells Raschke to David Von Erich. Certainly nothing has been decided yet as to who has the better claw, although you have to be impressed by the way David Von Erich used the claw to literally drag Raschke out of the ring when Raschke tried to get in there to break up DiBiase's figure 4 leg lock on Murdoch. But even at that, Raschke showed you he could withstand punishment, that he could take the claw, because after that he still got back into the ring, that man, Von Raschke, and attacked Ted DiBiase. Von Raschke with the figure 4 arm lock on David Von Erich. There's the claw. There's the claw by Von Erich on Raschke. The claw by Von Erich on Raschke. Raschke squirming towards the rope. Murdoch's up on the top rope. Murdoch's on the top rope, and there's DiBiase after Murdoch. DiBiase DiBiase knocks Murdoch off the top rope. Roschke still caught in David Von Erich's claw. There goes Murdoch up on the ropes again. He leaps off the rope. He's caught in the stomach claw. Von Erich has a claw on either man. He had the iron claw on Roschke and the stomach claw on Murdoch before Murdoch broke it up by gouging the eye of Von Erich. Von Erich needs a tag. Here comes Murdoch. Here comes DiBiase.
1 minute left. 1 minute.
DiBiase, his legs caught by Murdoch. Murdoch spins DiBiase, but DiBiase comes off punching. Murdoch slammed head first into the buckle. He can take it too. Those are 4 tough athletes inside that ring. Murdoch takes a bite out of the forehead of DiBiase. I'll tell you, I don't see how any of this quartet can have anything left by this point. They have just been non-stop from the opening bell. Murdoch stomps on the jaw of Ted DiBiase. Murdoch lifts DiBiase for a pile driver. There's the pile driver from Murdoch to DiBiase. Can he pull out a victory with just a few seconds remaining? Murdoch, a bit the worse for wear himself, crawls across DiBiase. There's the bell. And that ends this match as a 20-minute time limit draw. If we can get everybody separated. Roschke and Murdoch back to one corner. They're claiming a victory, but it's not to be. This match is a stalemate, a draw. David Von Erich and Ted DiBiase against Von Roschke and Dick Murdoch. What more could you want? There is no more that you could want. Here's Mickey.
With time running out, the referee declares the match a draw.
Nothing has really been settled yet. And of course I'm talking about who is the master of the Iron Claw. Originally Fritz Von Erich invented it. Von Roschke claims to have perfected the Iron Claw, and we really don't know who has the better claw, Von Roschke or the Von Erichs.
Larry, you make one serious mistake. Fritz Von Erich invented the claw, yes? Baron Von Raschke perfected the claw. I took it to a higher plane. In my hand, it is the brain claw. It is a scientific hold, applying pressures to the nerves that run down the side of the skull and penetrate the cranium into the medulla oblongata, into the various synapses of the brain, causing excruciating pain and blackness, and making all of my opponents surrender to the great Baron Von Raschke.
Now today, during this tag match, twice you were caught, or 3 times you were caught in the claw of David Von Erich. It had to be a funny feeling to be caught in the claw yourself.
You are very smart. You caught on right away to my strategy. You notice in this match, I did not even attempt to put the brain claw on David Von Erich. I am too intelligent. I am too clever. I am too wise, too smart. I am above all the rest. David Von Erich fell into my trap. He applied the claw 3 different times, and 3 different times my brain went to work, and I knew how to defend myself against the claw, so that when I meet him in the ring, on the way to my goals, on the way to the World Championship, I know our paths must cross. I know they must cross in the Kiel Auditorium, and I know for sure that my defenses against his Iron Claw will be set, but he will not be prepared for the mastery of the superior Brain Claw. You know, David Von Erich is very tall, and to the uneducated eye, they would say he does not look like a wrestler. But the longer the bone structure, the tighter the tendon strength, the better the leverage. But I know this, David Von Erich. I know the potential you have, but I have been through the fire, and what the fire doesn't destroy, it hardens, and I am hardened, and I am tough, young, tender David Von Erich. Come to kill and feel the claw, the brain claw.
Von Raschke, who says the brain claw is better than the iron claw, and we will find out. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
The second main event, a one fall with a 5-minute time limit. Introducing from Winnipeg, Canada, weighing 244 pounds, Kerry Brown. And from Portland, Oregon, weighing 266 pounds, Missouri State champion Ken Patera.
Powerhouse Ken Patera, the Missouri State champion and possibly the strongest man in the world, squares off with Kerry Brown, the second main event on Wrestling at the Chase today. And here's some information about next week's edition of Wrestling at the Chase, a mixed tag match. A mixed tag match will be one of the highlights, man and woman versus man and woman. A mixed tag match next weekend on Wrestling at the Chase. Don't miss that. Patera, the first man ever to press and also to clean and jerk more than 500 pounds. The holder of so many national and international records that it's almost impossible to recount them. And Ken Patera tells referee Chuck Riley, you've got to learn to get out of my way, as he shoved the 240-pound Kerry Brown right to the corner. Side headlock by Kerry Brown on Ken Patera, the man who could well be the next world heavyweight champion. I cannot think of two more serious, two more dedicated, and two more determined athletes than Ken Patera and the world champion Harley Race. Neither one will give a single inch, a portion of an inch. So when they clash with wrestling's biggest prize on the line, Ken Patera flexing those massive muscles after lifting Kerry Brown onto the turnbuckle. Can you imagine what it will be like when that man, Ken Patera, maybe the strongest man in the world, squares off with Harley Race, who said you have to cripple him to take the championship from him? Well, right there is a man, Ken Patera, who can cripple anyone. Anyone in the world. Patera has the wherewithal, has the power, has the knowledge, has the ability to cripple them. Patera pounds on Kerry Brown, yanks him over the top with a chance where he gets a count of one on Kerry Brown. Remember that Patera won that Missouri State title from Kevin Von Erich and then beat Kevin Von Erich in a rematch. And that says a lot right there about Patera's tremendous amount of skill. Patera with a front face lock on Kerry Brown. Is it a strangle? Chuck Riley checks. Now it's a strangle. As soon as Riley pulled that hand away, Patera went right for the windpipe. A kick to the head from Ken Patera. Patera bangs away on Kerry Brown. Pops an elbow into the face of Kerry Brown. Patera walks across the face of Brown. Show me what you got, boy, yells Ken Patera to Kerry Brown, and bounces a forearm into the cheekbone and then into the jaw. Kerry Brown twists the arm of the Missouri State champion. Patera flung to the mat. Leg drop to the shoulder of Patera by Kerry Brown. Patera goes to the corner.
2 minutes left, 2 minutes.
Kerry Brown twists Patera's arm, trying to pull him out of the corner. Kerry bending that arm forward. Ken Patera. The pressure's really on him because of the opportunity he has at his command. Patera uses knee lifts to get loose from that armbar arm twist combination by Kerry Brown. Patera lifts Kerry. Look at that. High overhead. Face down and pitches him halfway across the ring. To call that a body slam is an understatement. He threw Kerry Brown, 240 pounds, clear across the ring. At 2, Kerry Brown kicks off Patera. He better check his vertebrae after that slam. Patera hoists Brown once more. Backbreaker. The backbreaker by Missouri State champion Ken Patera. Once more, Kerry Brown battles away from a potential pin.
1 minute left, 1 minute.
Ken Patera clotheslining Kerry Brown as he came off the ropes. That's like getting hit by a 2x4. There's the full Nelson. There's the swinging neck breaker. The swinging neck breaker by Patera. Kerry Brown forced forward. He's risking serious neck injury right here. A lot of men have gone directly to emergency rooms after being trapped in that swinging neck breaker, and Kerry Brown has to give up. The match is over, and Patera finally releases the swinging neck breaker. Kerry Brown in severe pain, rolling around the mat as Ken Patera, the Missouri State champion, has his arm raised in victory. Here's Mickey.
In 4 minutes and 23 seconds, a swinging neck breaker. The winner, Missouri State champion Ken Patera. An added attraction, an Australian tag team match, most falls to curfew. Introducing from Denver, Colorado, weighing 257 pounds, Killer Carl Cox. And from Winnipeg, Canada, weighing 242 pounds, Bulldog Bob Brown. From Wellington, New Zealand, weighing 234 pounds, former world champion Pat O'Connor. And from Fort Worth, Texas, weighing 227 pounds, Tommy Yates.
And here we go for some more tag team action. Bulldog Bob Brown and Killer Carl Cox against newcomer Tommy Yates and former world champion Pat O'Connor. O'Connor and Brown begin the action. Brown shoved to the ropes by O'Connor. Don't forget now, next weekend, a mixed tag match, man and woman versus man and woman, right here on Wrestling at the Chase. A mixed tag match, plus a whole lot more. Side headlock by O'Connor and Bulldog Bob Brown. Brown grabs O'Connor's hair. O'Connor pushed to the corner where Killer Carl Cox is. Brown and Cox both pound on O'Connor. Cox pounds away that elbow on O'Connor. Bear hug by Killer Carl Cox. He's using that to lift O'Connor. He bounced him once into the turnbuckle, and now Killer Carl Cox squeezes the former world champion. While he's doing that, though, he's careful to keep O'Connor within range of Bulldog Bob Brown. Brown getting in his licks from outside the ring as the referees try to control another rough and ready duel. This time it's Killer Carl Cox and Bulldog Bob Brown. O'Connor lands a fist to Brown and then puts a side headlock on Cox and checks the bridge work of Cox. Thinking of the tag team matches, think of all the excitement there's been today in the two tag matches. Imagine what it will be like when there is an 8-man tag match on that upcoming program. An 8-man tag match, each duel will have 2 corners into which they can tag. In other words, there will be someone in all 4 corners of the ring, and tags can be made to at least 2 corners for any partner. An 8-man tag match, in addition to the showdown between world champion Harley Race and Missouri Kingpin Ken Patera, in addition to the Battle of the Claws between Von Raschke and David Von Erich, in addition to the WWF champion Bob Backlund against 315-pound Buzz Tyler. Tommy Yates with a side headlock on Bulldog Bob Brown, and Brown is flung to the mat by Yates. Yates has a real good reputation down around Texas where he is a native. He's had some good outings down there and has done very well.
2 minutes left, 2 minutes.
2 minutes remain in the curfew. No falls yet. Brown and Cox against Yates and O'Connor. O'Connor angrily came into the ring. He still wants a piece of Cox. He doesn't like to see his man double team. The referees pull O'Connor off of Cox. Here comes Bulldog Bob Brown to the ring. Oh, he catches Yates right in the throat, and Yates was looking for Cox when he came off those ropes. Brown covering Yates. And Cox pulled Brown off of Yates. He didn't want Brown to pin Yates. I don't know if he could have, and Brown doesn't quite believe it. Tag is made to Cox. Cox lifting Yates for that brain buster. And I don't think Bulldog Bob Brown's going to care for this at all, because he might have been able to pin Yates, and instead Killer Carl Cox managed to maneuver his way into that ring to get the pin on Yates. And Brown is not at all happy with Killer Carl Cox. That's exactly how that match ended, because Cox managed to get himself into the ring and make a pin on Yates, a pin that Bulldog Bob Brown could have made. We checked the clock, and time will expire during the rest period, so Brown and Cox are the winners, but they're certainly not happy victors. Brown and Cox. Brown very upset with Killer Carl Cox right now, but they are the winners. Let's hear from Mickey.
With time running out, the winner of the only fall and the match, Killer Carl Cox and Bulldog Bob Brown.
The man who is possibly the strongest in the world could soon be wrestling's world heavyweight champion. Hello, I'm Larry Matysik, and this is Wrestling at the Chase. The powerhouse, of course, is Ken Patera, who is unmatched in muscle by anyone, anywhere. Patera is also the Missouri State champion by virtue of a victory over Kevin Von Erich, and if Patera can knock off Harley Race, Ken Patera will then be the world heavyweight champion. It's something Patera is clearly capable of doing. He's more than just strength. He's intelligent, he's quick, he's willing to do whatever it takes to win. Ken Patera, the Missouri champion, is here today on Wrestling at the Chase, and we'll be back with the opening bout, a mixed tag match, right after this.
Welcome to Wrestling at the Chase, the opening bout, a mixed match, one fall with a 15-minute time limit. Introducing from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, weighing 140 pounds, Vivian St. John. From Winnipeg, Canada, weighing 243 pounds, Bulldog Bob Brown. From Dallas, Texas, weighing 158 pounds, Wendy Richter. And from Omaha, Nebraska, weighing 254 pounds, Ted DiBiase. Referee Chuck Riley, Lee Warren.
Bulldog Bob Brown and Vivian St. John meet Wendy Richter and Ted DiBiase, and Brown runs Wendy Richter out of the ring, says, "You have no business in here. I want to start out against Ted DiBiase." And of course, whenever a tag is made, the opponents have to be of the same sex. In other words, if DiBiase were to tag Wendy Richter right now, Vivian St. John, Brown's partner, could enter the ring immediately without a tag and come right into the ring. By the same token, if Brown tagged Vivian St. John, then Wendy Richter could charge into the ring. Brown's a bit upset at the fact Ted DiBiase pushed him away as they were along the ropes. "You should disqualify him, referee," says Bulldog Bob Brown to Chuck Riley. Brown forces DiBiase to the ropes. And again, DiBiase shoves Bulldog Bob Brown away because Brown was slow to step back. Riley has no sympathy for Brown. What could he do? It was clean. It was just a push. It just made the break happen a little bit quicker. Brown hooks the head and the arm of Ted DiBiase. DiBiase reaches inside, trying to break the grip and pull the arm up into a wrist lock. DiBiase, who's taller than Brown, he can use that height right here, trying to come up with a wrist lock, but down goes DiBiase. And I do believe Mr. Brown grabbed the hair. Ted DiBiase angrily to his feet. Brown now twisting the wrist, putting pressure to the wrist and forearm of Ted DiBiase. DiBiase trying to reach inside that grip. Ted likes to get in tight. There's a kick to the stomach, and DiBiase twists the arm. Down goes Bulldog Brown, leg drop to the bicep, and then DiBiase scissors the arm of Bulldog Bob Brown. Brown getting onto his side so those shoulders are off the mat. Vivian St. John reached in to try and make a tag with Brown, and of course that would be perfect for Brown because then Richter and St. John would have to come into action. Ted DiBiase drops that knee into the bicep of Bulldog Bob Brown. Brown comes to his feet, threatens to throw a punch at DiBiase, but he doesn't get the chance. DiBiase spins and twists that arm. Now Ted hooks the elbow and puts pressure to the upper portion of the arm. Brown trying to get back to Vivian St. John. Fireman's carry by DiBiase stops that. What a brilliant young wrestler is Ted DiBiase. Boy, you talk about some of the tremendous young talent on the way up. Certainly DiBiase personifies that along with people like David and Kevin Von Erich. There's a tag, and that means St. John comes in against Wendy Richter. DiBiase is a little frustrated by that. He had Brown in some trouble. Wrist lock by Vivian St. John on Wendy Richter. Two tall young ladies right there. And if you take a good look at Vivian St. John, the way she's built, her features, the red hair, she has to remind you of Kay Noble. And I'm sure you remember Kay Noble, a scrappy customer, now makes her home up in Northwest Missouri. Fine wrestler. And I'll tell you, Vivian St. John reminds me of her in more ways than one, because Vivian, like Kay Noble, is a real scrapper. Wendy Richter steps back after a clean break. Wendy ties up with St. John. St. John forces Wendy Richter to the ropes. A knee to the stomach from Vivian St. John. Bulldog Bob Brown eyeing the action carefully. You never know what the Bulldog, what he's got in mind or what he's apt to do. St. John again puts Wendy Richter on the ropes. Brown, they're taking a look. St. John strangling Wendy Richter, and I can't tell if Brown has a hold of the... No, he's keeping his hands out. He's just watching what's going on very carefully. Flying mare by Vivian St. John. Is she strangling? Yes, she is, and Riley wants it broken. St. John with a hard kick. And another kick to the head knocks Wendy Richter face first to the mat. And St. John grabs Wendy Richter's hair, banging her to the canvas. Vivian St. John. Shades of Dick Murdoch or Von Roschke. St. John grabs Wendy Richter by the throat. Oh, St. John clouts Bulldog Bob Brown. She threw a punch at Richter, hit Brown, and then Brown kicks Richter. Brown kicks Richter right in the hip, and that infuriated Ted DiBiase.
5 minutes have elapsed, 10 minutes left.
Wendy Richter, even after that faux pas by St. John, where she hit her own partner, still wasn't able to get out of the corner and tag DiBiase. St. John with a forearm smash. Knock her head off, yells Bulldog Bob Brown. Mercy is not part of his vocabulary. There's St. John on the throat again. Richter with a sizzling forearm smash breaks free. Flying mare by Wendy Richter. Count of 1. At 2, St. John pushes off Wendy Richter. Brown stepping up on the ropes to try and reach in. There's St. John back on the throat again. Oh, she's tough. I think she has the tag rope now around the throat of Wendy Richter. Brown holding on to that rope, and Wendy Richter's being strangled in the corner. Here comes DiBiase after Brown. Nearly flattens Lee Warren, the referee, and trying to get at Brown. St. John with a knee lift to Wendy Richter. Elbow smash to the head from Vivian St. John. Try for a pin. Chuck Riley hustles over to make the count, but only gets to 1. Front face lock by Vivian St. John on Wendy Richter, and a knee lift. Drops Richter. Vivian stepping onto the throat. Of course, in a match like this, quick tagging is not as important as it normally would be in a regulation tag match. A quick tag here by St. John to Brown obviously doesn't help the situation, because that brings DiBiase into the fray. Brown yells at St. John, "Don't stop, keep it up." It's more important for the person in trouble to make the tag than the one who is on the offensive, as Vivian St. John is right now. St. John using the bottom rope to strangle Wendy Richter. St. John strangling Richter again. Well, Brown should be pretty happy with the tactics of Vivian St. John, because St. John obviously has the same philosophy as Bulldog Bob Brown. The crowd becoming quite upset with the tactics of Vivian St. John, who I believe is choking once more. At the count of 3, I believe it was, St. John stopped strangling and used the knee lift to flatten Richter. Wendy finds a home for the fist in the stomach of St. John, does it again. Wendy Richter bangs away those forearm smashes, driving him home, and now she strangles St. John. Vivian St. John getting a taste of her own medicine. Madison. And Ted DiBiase yells for a tag. Here comes DiBiase and Brown into the action. Ted DiBiase. Oh, his eyes raked by Brown. Brown tossed to the ropes. Flying tackle. DiBiase ducks. Over the top. Underneath again. Brown flying off those ropes. Then DiBiase pitches Brown into the air for a hard jolt. And Brown bails out. Wendy Richter chases Brown off the apron and throws a kick at Brown, too. She kicks Brown again. And Bulldog Bob Brown is upset. Wendy Richter, just as angry as Brown, I think, yes, she was willing to take a kick at Brown right there, and Brown goes over to more friendly surroundings, the corner where Vivian St. John is. So it's St. John against Richter again. Brown made the tag. Really a good idea because Richter had actually taken more punishment than St. John had earlier. Although you'd never know it the way Wendy Richter is hanging in there against the tough Vivian St. John. They're having a slugfest. Oh, you can hear those forearms banging home and the wind being knocked out of each person. Oh, Wendy missed that one, but she comes up behind St. John. Hey, back rolling cradle, count of 1, 2, 3. Wendy Richter with a back rolling cradle. Nicely done by Wendy Richter. And DiBiase and Bulldog Bob Brown nearly get involved in a little Donnybrook. DiBiase throws a punch at Brown as they stand toe-to-toe, staring at one another. Be that as it may, though, the victory belongs to Wendy Richter and Ted DiBiase. Here's Mickey Garagiola.
In 9 minutes and 31 seconds, the back rolling cradle, the winner, Wendy Richter and Ted DiBiase.
Wendy Richter and Vivian St. John still going to it. DiBiase keeping Brown out of matters so that St. John and Wendy Richter can try and settle their differences. Finally, Chuck Riley separates the two after St. John has strangled Wendy Richter. Now Brown and DiBiase are arguing once more. And I think the action finally has ended. So we will be back with more right after this.
The first main event, a one fall with a 10-minute time limit. Introducing from Fort Worth, Texas, weighing 235 pounds, Tommy Yates. And from Portland, Oregon, weighing 265 pounds, Missouri State Champion Ken Patera.
Missouri State Champion Ken Patera, who could soon be the world heavyweight champion, squares off with Tommy Yates. The first main event today on Wrestling at the Chase. Patera slowly removing the Missouri State title belt, which he took from Kevin Von Erich, using the swinging neck breaker. Patera carefully removing his colorful tights, colorful warm-up pants. The crowd hoots and hollers. Patera just looks. Here's a man who is coolly and completely confident. Everything he has done on the athletic field throughout his life, he has excelled at. He has become the best. He was the NCAA indoor shot put champion. He was a national weightlifting champion. He was an Olympic medalist in weightlifting. Set so many records. He is the Missouri State champion. And now the world heavyweight title is just within his grasp. You know he can taste it. Patera trying to lure Yates to him. Side headlock by powerhouse Ken Patera on Tommy Yates. Yates, nice takedown. Not there long, though. Patera too strong and too smart there. You notice how he quickly switched the hold. He yanks Yates down. Yates tried to sit out and get away, but Patera with one arm hooked Yates. Yates again tried to get away. Nice takedown by Ken Patera. The man is a good wrestler. Don't kid yourself. Patera pulls Yates to him, but Yates comes up with a side headlock on Ken Patera. Tommy Yates squeezing the head of strongman Ken Patera. Patera, with help from the hair, puts Yates along the ropes. And then Patera clubs Yates, drives that knee into the stomach, again into the midsection, the knee lift by Ken Patera. Lee Warren, the referee, trying to get Patera to release Yates, which Patera does briefly, then hooks the arm, and up into the air. A message for Harley Race right there as Ken Patera scores with the suplex against Tommy Yates. Count of 1, 2. Yates kicks away just before the count of 3, and Patera appears surprised that Yates got up from that suplex. A pair of hard kicks to the head from Ken Patera to Tommy Yates. It gives you some idea, perhaps, of how crucial that match will be between Patera and Race to know that Lou Thesz has been selected as a special referee. Patera outside the ring, banging the head of Tommy Yates into the apron. Lou Thesz, 6 times Thesz won the World Heavyweight Championship. He knows how hot the emotions will be running with 2 athletes like Patera and Race. 2 men who never take a backward step, who never give up, who refuse to quit, and who will cripple to win. Thesz knows what a difficult task he has. He knows how much is at stake, the gold belt. Wrestling's biggest prize on the line as Patera turns Yates around and bounces the elbow off the head of Tommy Yates. Some of the front row spectators first returning to their seats now. Patera lifts Yates like he's nothing, 230 pounds, is picking him up as though he weighed 10 pounds, pitching him right into the middle of the ring. Patera, what an awesome sight he is. The bear hug by Ken Patera. You know, Patera really didn't start lifting weights until he was in college. When he was in high school, his main athletic outlets were baseball, football, basketball, and he got involved in track and the shot put by his senior year. But when he was a youngster, hanging around in Portland, he spent a lot of time in the gym working out with the professional wrestlers. He always was strong, a natural athlete. So actually, Patera's involvement with wrestling dates back much further than after his weightlifting days. His earliest involvement was with wrestling, and that's why he has such good instinct, why he's such a good ring general in there. There's more to Patera than muscle. He can wrestle. He knows the holds. He knows the escapes. He can pace himself. And most importantly of all, probably, he knows how to use the power that he has. The power that maybe nobody else in wrestling or in the world has. Patera knows how to use it best. Look at that, lifting the man this so easily. And then the backbreaker, jamming the back into his own knee. How will Patera go against Harley Race? Race, who refuses to give an inch, who has no mercy either, so much like Ken Patera. And both men after the same goal, the gold belt. Patera hurls Yates into the turnbuckles. Knee lift to the chest from Ken Patera. Right now he's battering Tommy Yates. There's the elbow to the neck.
5 minutes have passed, 5 minutes left.
Patera driving home the elbow to the neck. What condition this man is in. Patera circling, coming up behind Yates. There's the full Nelson. And there's the swinging neck breaker. The swinging neck breaker that Ken Patera considers to be the most lethal weapon in wrestling today. Yates cries out yes as Patera forces the neck forward. Lee Warren, the referee, standing right up to Patera. Patera the winner with the swinging neck breaker over Tommy Yates. Yates nursing his wounds, and he took a pounding from the Missouri State champion, Ken Patera. Let's get the official verdict from ring announcer Mickey Garagiola.
In 5 minutes and 20 seconds, with the swinging neck breaker, the winning Missouri State champion, Ken Patera.
Early in the victory scored today by Missouri State champion Ken Patera. Ken, you used the suplex, and I have to wonder, were you sending a message to the world champion Harley Race?
That's right. Harley Race supposedly is the expert in the world of wrestling on suplexes. He does side suplexes, reverse suplexes, up and down side suplexes, go behind, takedowns, reverses. Whatever kind of suplex you can do, Harley Race, Ken Patera can do much better.
Let's take a look at it in slow motion.
Now here comes a slow-mo on here. Now here, it takes a lot of strength, knowledge, quickness, and I have it all. Now there is the finest suplex that I've ever seen in my entire life. Now if Harley Race has any knowledge about suplexes, he can learn more by watching mine.
So in other words, you not only have the swinging neck breaker, but you also have the suplex that you can use if you are to dethrone Harley Race's world champion.
That's right. The way to beat an opponent, especially a man of Harley Race's caliber, is to wear him down I don't pretend I'm not going to beat anybody with a suplex. But I'll tell you one thing, Harley Race. I'll soften you up like a soft, hard-boiled egg, baby. And then I'll slap that swinging full Nelson on, and your neck is going to sound like a bowl of crisp, fresh Rice Krispies in the morning. Snap, crackle, and pop.
You've been chasing Harley Race for some time now. I know it's been a very irritating situation for you.
That's right. It's been 2.5 years, Harley Race. Toronto, Canada. Just think back. Remember that date? You said, the only reason I'm giving Ken Patera a title match is because he's a bum, he's out of shape, he's fat, he's green, he's inexperienced. For Harley Race, when the smoke cleared and the dust had settled, it was a draw. And you had just barely gotten out of there alive. And I'm telling you this, I'm in shape more than ever before. I'm more experienced now. I'm a master of all the holds. And I'm a master at winning championship belts. Just like the Missouri State Championship belt right here that I beat that greasy kid punk, Kevin Von Erich, for. And I'm going to add your strap to my trophy case too, Harley Race. So if you think that you have any future left in this profession, forget it. You're washed up. You're through.
You have to be happy also at the appointment of Lou Thesz as the referee for this showdown between you and Race.
You know, I respect the referees that Sam Mushnick has here in St. Louis, but they don't have guts. If they see something happening, they're afraid to judge it. Well, Lou Thesz isn't going to be that type of referee. Lou Thesz will call it the way he sees it. He wasn't world champion 6 times for nothing. He's a very knowledgeable man. And Harley Race, you might think that that's in your favor. I don't think so. I think it's in my favor.
Ken Patera, today the Missouri State champion. Maybe a week from now, it'll be the gold belt, the World Heavyweight Championship that Ken Patera will be standing here with as we watch Ken Patera's swinging neckbreaker, which brought him victory today over Tommy Yates. What will happen if Patera can get that hold on world champion Harley Race?
There won't be any ifs, ands, and buts. That's the hold that's going to beat Harley Race.
We'll be back with more in a moment.
The second main event, a 1 fall with a 15-minute time limit. Introducing from Denton, Texas, weighing 237 pounds, David Von Erich. From Dunlap, Kansas, weighing 255 pounds, Dynamite Bobby Jaggers.
A couple of weeks ago on Wrestling at the Chase, Bobby Jaggers sounded off rather loudly. Said the time had come for him to get important opponents in important matches, big main events in St. Louis. He should be happy today. It's Jaggers against David Von Erich. Jaggers forcing David Von Erich to the ropes. And a clean break from Bobby Jaggers, although not a quiet break from Jaggers. Quiet is not part of the vocabulary of Bobby Jaggers. David Von Erich twists the arm of Bobby Jaggers, bends that wrist in, and Jaggers ends up in the ropes. Jaggers complaining about the officiating. You could probably hear part of his gripe. Side headlock by David Von Erich on Jaggers. Jaggers tosses David to the ropes. Flying tackle. Puts Jaggers down on a second flying tackle. Turns the trick again. A third flying tackle. A try for a fourth. David leapfrogged over the top and takes Jaggers over the hip with a side headlock. Fine wrestling by David Von Erich. Count of 1, and David manages to get back up on top of the situation. 3 flying tackles, and Jaggers probably thought he had an opening there, that David was getting too confident with the flying tackle. He ducked down to give David a backflip, but Von Erich, whose mind is like a computer inside that ring, just clicking away, saw what Jaggers was doing, leapfrogged over the top, and put himself in perfect position to catch this side headlock on Bobby Jaggers. Von Erich squeezing with that side headlock. A lot of attention, of course, is focused on that upcoming bout between world champion Harley Race and Missouri champion Ken Patera, with Lou Thesz, the referee, as Jaggers flattens David Von Erich with an elbow smashed. But a lot of people too. Jaggers misses the elbow drop. Side headlock. Down goes Bobby Jaggers. as we were saying, there's an awful lot of attention also being lined up on the match between Von Raschke and David Von Erich, the Battle of the Claws. And, of course, you heard Von Raschke last weekend here say that during a tag match, he allowed David Von Erich to apply David's claw on Raschke, so Raschke had some idea of how he could defense it. And the fact that he claimed he had proved he could withstand the claw of David Von Erich. And Raschke also added that his claw, which he calls the brain claw because it is so much superior to the iron claw, is a far better weapon than the claw of David Von Erich. With all that attention on the claws, you have to wonder if maybe some other hold, some other maneuver might not prove to be the difference in the match. But it's quite a showdown, and certainly whoever wins between Von Raschke and David Von Erich, along with some of the other winners in that lineup, could well be in line for a crack at the victor between Harley Race and Ken Patera. Jaggers opening up against David Von Erich, using a thumb there to the throat of David Von Erich. This is a tremendous opportunity for Jaggers. If he could knock off David Von Erich right here, well, he's going to be someone who's in line for cracks at people like Ken Patera and Harley Race and all the other top stars. Jaggers has recorded a number of victories throughout the Midwest. He's no stranger to main events in many areas, so he has the experience to go with the fire of youth. And he's quite a handful for David Von Erich or anyone else. Jaggers twisting the head of David Von Erich. David spins out nicely. Good work from David Von Erich. And Jaggers goes to the mat and complains that his hair was pulled. Afraid not, because it was strictly the pressure in the wrist and arm by David Von Erich that tossed Jaggers down. One point that Von Raschke made last week when we were talking to him, I think is worth bringing out. David Von Erich obviously does not have the same physique, say, that Ken Patera does, but he has those long bones, that tremendous tight tendon strength, and his power is really much, much more than would be expected, and truthfully much more than the average wrestler has. He's tall, that's an advantage for him. Tremendous agility, he's proven that time and again, and the fact that his claw is so effective shows just how much power he has in those forearms and wrists and hands. And of course, that's something that Von Raschke spotted right away, and it's something that Raschke's taking into consideration going into the Battle of the Claws with David Von Erich.
5 minutes have passed, 10 minutes left.
Von Erich blocked the thumb thrust of Bobby Jaggers, and then he knocks Jaggers down with a thumb of his own right to the throat. David Von Erich on top of Jaggers, pounding away on the head of Bobby Jaggers. David does have a temper, in case you haven't noticed. Jaggers takes aim at David Von Erich and pounds on the head of Von Erich. Jaggers taking a page out of the book of Dick Murdoch as he takes a bite from the forehead of David Von Erich. David Von Erich bounced head first into that top turnbuckle. The claw hole, right? The claw hole, right, yells Jaggers. Oh, Jaggers yells, this is the turnbuckle hole. And well, it is. The only problem is the hole's being delivered by David Von Erich. Flying Beal. Flying head scissors by David Von Erich. And Jaggers thrashes about without much effect because David Von Erich, with those long, powerful legs, has the head scissors on Jaggers. You know, Ken Patera made reference to the only previous bout he's had against world champion Harley Race a couple of years ago in Toronto, and he said that Race was saying that Patera was fat and out of shape. I really can't imagine Race ever misjudging an opponent like that. I have to wonder if it wasn't something at the time to try and throw Patera off balance. Obviously, it did not do the trick because Patera held his own with Race 2 years ago. Probably the only fact that Race might have had correct when he was talking about the experience of Patera. But even there, you look at the experience Patera does have in athletics and in wrestling from his early days, back when he was in high school hanging around the gyms of Portland. Well, you add the 2 years of experience he's had now since that match with Race. All the main events in Carolina, in Texas, throughout the South, in New York, everywhere he goes, Patera is main event, the Missouri State champion. Harley Race has his hands full. And Luthez, the great Luthez, 6-time farmer world champion there to make sure that some sort of law and order is kept. It's going to be a rough match. Don't kid yourself. With Race and Patera there, you know there are going to be a lot of bruises and abrasions dished out, just like the one Bobby Jaggers gave to David Von Erich, nailing him with a kick as David was waiting to flip Jaggers. Jaggers drives the elbow into the forehead of David Von Erich. Again, the elbow to the forehead of Von Erich. Knee drop to the shoulder by Bobby Jaggers. He covers David Von Erich. But David won't even stay down for the count of 1 before Jaggers then has to hook the head of David Von Erich. The crowd yells in behalf of David. And Jaggers yells, "Shut up." That just makes the crowd roar louder. David Von Erich's head trapped in the burly arms of Bobby Jaggers. It's not a strangle. Chuck Riley, as you can see, checking it carefully. Jaggers says, "You better check him." Check him again, bellows Bobby Jaggers as he squeezes the cheeks together. David Von Erich thrashing about, trying to loosen the grip of Bobby Jaggers. Jaggers now leaning in behind the neck of David Von Erich. He can get that chest up fully against the neck of David. It's not going to be very comfortable. David trying to keep consciousness as his chin is driven down into his chest. Jaggers covers David Von Erich. Before the count of 2, once more David shoves off Jaggers. Jaggers quickly pounces and once more ties up the head of David Von Erich. Squeezing that head of David. Bobby Jaggers in command right now against David Von Erich. The big opportunity for Bobby Jaggers. And he's trying to take full advantage. David, first of all, needs to get out of that sitting position. That's just what he's trying to do now. If he can come to his feet, his height will play a part in maybe helping to break him free. Or maybe that elbow will, too, to the ribcage. Down goes David Von Erich. The crowd on the opposite side of the ring screams he pulled air. We had the same view Chuck Riley did, and there was no way to tell how Jaggers pulled him down. It could just have easily been with leverage or was tripping him from what we could see.
10 minutes have elapsed, 5 minutes left.
5 minutes remain. The second feature today on Wrestling at the Chase. And don't go away because we still have another tag team match coming up. A regular tag team match, and the duo of Von Roschke and Dick Murdoch will be reunited. You can recall the battle they had last weekend against Ted DiBiase and David Von Erich. That went to a draw. David pounds on the stomach of Jaggers. Finally, the head is free. Jaggers doubled up. Drop kick from David Von Erich. Jaggers staggering to the corner, trying to get his win. He's gasping. Head first, Jaggers goes into the turnbuckle. Oh, Jaggers reverses the whip. Jaggers reversed the whip, but he misses with the flying tackle and hits the turnbuckle. There's the claw. The iron claw of David Von Erich. Jaggers scoots underneath the ropes to get away. Jaggers quickly heading for the exit when David Von Erich clamped on the iron claw. What happens when he puts that claw, if he can put the claw on Von Roschke? And what happens if Roschke can get the claw on David Von Erich? And oh, look at the blood coming from the head of Bobby Jaggers. The iron claw has opened up Bobby Jaggers. Blood pouring from the forehead of Jaggers as David Von Erich grinds away with the iron claw. The blood streaming down the face and chest of Bobby Jaggers. David Von Erich and the iron claw have opened up and finished off Bobby Jaggers. The iron claw, just as it did to Harley Race once, opening up the forehead of Bobby Jaggers. You can see the blood on the inside of the hand of Von Erich. David yells, "I can do the same to Roschke." Watch as Bobby Jaggers tries to come to his feet, the blood pouring out of the forehead of Jaggers. You can see it dripping onto the mat. Bobby Jaggers, that head opened up by the iron claw of David Von Erich. Here's Mickey Garagiola.
11 minutes and 39 seconds with the Iron Claw. The winner, David Von Erich.
There's the blood that poured out of the forehead of Bobby Jaggers after David Von Erich caught him in the Iron Claw. Don't you know Von Raschke would love to do that to David Von Erich? Let's hear from Mickey Garagiola with the next introduction.
The final event, an Australian tag team match, most falls to curfew. Introducing from Winnipeg, Canada, weighing 240 pounds, Kerry Brown. From Wellington, New Zealand, weighing 233 pounds, former World's Heavyweight Champion, Pat O'Connor. From Germany, weighing 280 pounds, Von Raschke. And from Waxahachie, Texas, weighing 268 pounds, Dick Murdoch.
Von Raschke and Dick Murdoch against Kerry Brown and Pat O'Connor. Raschke beginning the action against Kerry Brown. Raschke and Kerry pulling each other's heads, and it's Kerry who scores with an arm drag. Raschke a bit surprised at the smooth maneuvering of Kerry Brown. Once more, Kerry Brown and Raschke come to grips. Raschke underneath. Nice fireman's carry by Von Raschke. Raschke yanks back on that arm. You see these four men in the ring for a tag team match, and then you have to look forward to the 8-man tag match coming up. Because when you figure people like Dick the Bruiser and Rufus R. Jones and Pat O'Connor and Kevin Von Erich all on one side against people like Takachio, Killer Carl Cox, Roger Kirby, and a gentleman named Dick Murdoch in an 8-man tag match, well, almost anything can happen, because remember that in the 8-man tag match, there will be someone in all four corners. Each man who's in the ring will be able to go to one of two corners to make a tag. He will have an opportunity to go a couple of different places for a tag, and that should make for a lot of fast tagging and wide open excitement as Dick Murdoch quickly pounds on Kerry Brown and pitches Kerry Brown outside the ring and onto the floor. Murdoch outside the ring, stomping on Kerry Brown. Grabs Kerry by the hair. Kerry Brown slammed head first into the press table, shattering one of the glasses. And it's amazing if Kerry Brown hasn't gotten a sliver of glass into his eye or his forehead after hitting that table. Dick Murdoch turns Kerry around and drives the elbow into the throat of Kerry Brown. Mickey Garagiola won't have to take a bath because he just got one from the water pitcher. Von Raschke with a kick to the stomach, and Kerry Brown in early difficulty against O'Connor. With O'Connor against Murdoch and Raschke. Raschke underhooking both arms, brings him over with a double arm suplex. Nice suplex by Raschke. Flying elbow drop from Raschke to Kerry Brown. Raschke covers Kerry, count of one, and at two, Kerry Brown shoves off Raschke. Give Brown credit. After that attack from Dick Murdoch outside the ring, Brown hits the ropes, comes off backwards, and Raschke really tags him right in the kidney area with an elbow smash. Murdoch on the second rope, he's legal from there. Raschke hanging on to Kerry Brown, and Murdoch comes off that second rope with those forearms across the back of Kerry Brown. Kerry Brown taking some early lumps against Murdoch and Raschke, who at this point are a very smooth and devastating combination. Kerry Brown comes off the ropes, missing the tag. Jackknife, cradle by Kerry Brown! But Murdoch bangs his knees against the head of Kerry to get free. Alert work from Kerry Brown, but he really didn't have the wherewithal to keep Murdoch's shoulders down. Raschke pitches Kerry to the ropes. Flips him. No, he didn't flip him. Kerry Brown came over the top, throws a punch. Raschke and Brown flail away at one another. Raschke ends up grabbing Kerry's hair and flinging him into the turnbuckles. Another punch to the head by Raschke to Kerry Brown. Murdoch's yelling, Baron, Baron. That's what he wanted. He wanted Kerry Brown pitched out. That's where Brown ends up in the first row of spectators. Murdoch with an uppercut. Murdoch grabbing a chair, and Murdoch slams the chair over the head of Kerry. Kerry Brown. Brown taking a tremendous pounding at the hands of Roschke and Murdoch. Murdoch, especially outside the ring, banging on Kerry Brown. No wonder Murdoch's made so many enemies, and certainly among the foremost of those is King Kong Brody. Murdoch yelled out, "That's how we do it, Texas style." I don't know how Kerry Brown can have anything left after all this. He still manages to lash out with a kick, and he tags O'Connor. O'Connor goes to work on Roschke. O'Connor with the sleeper on Roschke.
5 minutes left, 5 minutes.
Murdoch coming into the ring off the second rope to help rescue Roschke from the sleeper. Murdoch claiming he was tagged. If so, the referees didn't see it in all the confusion. And now Roschke pounds on O'Connor. Let me tell you, O'Connor and Kerry Brown have had a rough day today. Flying mare from Roschke. Tag made to Murdoch. Murdoch stomps on the head of O'Connor. And we have word now, next weekend, a girls' tag match right here on Wrestling at the Chase. Be on hand for that. Next weekend, a girls' tag match on Wrestling at the Chase. Late Saturday night, Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Murdoch yelling instructions to Roschke about a double punch or something. Ah, yes. That's what they had in mind. Murdoch captaining the team as he once did with King Kong Brody, but you know what happened there? That fell apart, and mainly because of Murdoch. So far, though, Roschke and Murdoch seem to be getting along quite well, but O'Connor, ever thinking, catches Roschke with a backslide. Count of 1, 2. Roschke slips the arm loose from O'Connor. Von Roschke whips O'Connor to the ropes. Tries to flip him, instead he's caught in that jackknife and cradle. But Roschke, he caught O'Connor right in the top of the head with the heel of the boot. That allowed him to get free. Murdoch tagged Roschke. Murdoch drives the elbow into the neck of O'Connor. Another punch to the face by Murdoch on O'Connor. Murdoch with a side headlock just long enough to throw a punch. Wonder how Lou Thez would be as a referee for Dick Murdoch. That'd be an interesting combination. Well, he's got his hands full with Racing Batera, the World Heavyweight Championship on the line. Harley Race, the title holder. Ken Batera, the challenger and Missouri State champion. O'Connor came off punching, so Murdoch tagged Roschke. And O'Connor catches Roschke with a kick to the chest that floored Roschke. O'Connor pounds on Roschke.
2 minutes left, 2 minutes.
Roschke tossed into the corner where Kerry Brown and O'Connor can double team Roschke. Kerry Brown throwing that hard right that he's picked up from O'Connor at Roschke. Roschke thrown to the corner. Tag was made, I'm sure. Yes, the tag was made to Murdoch. Brown doesn't realize it as he was jamming his shoulder into the stomach of Roschke. And then Murdoch drives some vicious kicks into the rib cage of Kerry Brown. Murdoch catches Brown coming off the ropes with an elbow smash. Here comes Von Roschke after Murdoch leveled Brown with that elbow smash. Roschke throws Brown to the corner. Then Murdoch and Roschke double team Kerry Brown. Flying mare from Roschke. He lines up the claw. There's the brain claw, as he calls it, the brain claw of Von Roschke. The brain claw of Von Roschke. Kerry Brown struggling to get up. Roschke squeezing away.
1 minute left, 1 minute.
Von Roschke with the brain claw on Kerry Brown. Brown trying to keep consciousness. Murdoch screaming, squeeze him, squeeze him, squeeze him. Brown's shoulders are down, and there's the count of 3. Von Roschke with the brain claw on Kerry Brown. Well, we've seen both versions of the claw. David Von Erich's claw on Bobby Jaggers, opening up Jaggers' head, and now Roschke's claw on Kerry Brown. We checked the clock, and we do have a winner because the curfew is just about gone. So the winners are Von Roschke and Dick Murdoch, thanks to Roschke's claw. Here's Mickey.
With time running out, the winner of the only fall and the match, Dick Murdoch and Von Roschke.
Volume 4 of Classic St. Louis Wrestling is right around the corner, and one of the most colorful characters ever will be featured, Dick the Bruiser, plus many more memorable figures. And get this tag team battle, Ken Patera joining forces with King Kong Brody against Pat O'Connor and Rocky Johnson. Can you see why St. Louis Wrestling was so special? I'm sure you can, and I have to admit, I get goosebumps every time I look at it too. Thanks for watching Classic St. Louis Wrestling. This is Larry Matysik. We'll see you again next time.
Murdoch to the top rope, and there's DiBiase after Murdoch. DiBiase knocks Murdoch off the top rope. Roschke still caught in David Von Erich's claw. The scientific battle is on tap today on Wrestling at the Chase. Hello, I'm Larry Matysik. Ron Starr squares off with Kevin Von Erich in a test between two splendid young wrestlers, both well-versed in fundamental wrestling, masters of many different holds. Quickness, speed, that's the forte for both Kevin Von Erich and Ron Starr against one another today on Wrestling at the Chase. Also, a handicap tag match is coming up, and we'll be back with the opening bout after this.
Welcome to Wrestling at the Chase, the opening bout, a one fall with a 15-minute time limit. Introducing from Amarillo, Texas, weighing 243 pounds, former world champion Dory Funk Jr. And from Tampa, Florida, weighing 228 pounds, Sonny Driver, referee Charles Veneta.
How's this for an opening bout? The former world champion, Dory Funk Jr. opposing Sonny Driver. Dory gets in tight with Driver. Driver tried to move underneath. Dory blocked him. Dory hooks the arm underneath. Fireman's carry by Dory Funk Jr. Dory with his body over the top of Driver. Trying to ride those shoulders down. Driver spins about. Comes up with a side headlock briefly. Goes into hammerlock and rides Dory Funk Jr. to the mat. Good move by Sonny Driver on Dory Funk Jr. Dory Jr. has a good campaign going now as he drives to regain the World Heavyweight Championship. That's a goal he would really like to achieve. He's made a couple of tours to Japan. He's been throughout the western states, the southwestern states, recording victories in main events almost everywhere he goes. And now, of course, his sights are set on Dick Murdoch, hoping to avenge a cut he suffered on the forehead, hoping to avenge a 20-minute draw, really. Time running out when Dory Jr. had the upper hand between himself and the controversial, rowdy Dick Murdoch. Dory knows how important a victory over Dick Murdoch could be, what it means in terms of prestige, and what it could mean to his future chances of getting a crack at the World Championship. Dory Jr. rides Driver down, staying on top of him. Count of one. Driver gets a shoulder up. It's a semi-bridge. Trying to ride Dory over. Maybe he can come up the hammerlock? Nope, Dory's too strong. Too much the master of balance. Dory Jr. with the armbar on Sonny Driver. Dory spins the arm, twisting it. Pressure right from the shoulder, through the elbow to the wrist. Dory yanks the arm out. Dory again jerking on that arm. Double wrist lock. Good hold in itself, and of course Dory could ride the man over into head scissors if he so desired, but instead he used his weight into the shoulder of Driver and pushed Driver to the mat. Driver counters nicely, comes up behind Dory Jr. with a hammerlock, and then hooks the other arm. He can put Dory's shoulders down here. Count of one. Dory lifts the left shoulder. Struggles as Sonny Driver tries to get the shoulders of Dory Funk Jr. on the canvas. Another count of one. Dory comes up. Driver brings Dory Funk Jr. over. Dory quickly responds, though, and his shoulders aren't down long enough for anywhere near a count of one. Driver in tight with a front face lock on Dory Funk Jr. Driver squeezing Funk's head. Funk lifts Driver and just flips him right over the top with sheer strength. Count of one. Dory keeps the side headlock, though. Wasn't pushed off. He stayed on top of the man and kept the side headlock. Talk about men's power. You know, really, Dory Jr., I think, has gotten stronger over the years. When he originally won the World Heavyweight Championship, I don't think he was that strong. Of course, he was so young, he hadn't really matured into full strength. And now that he's reached full maturity, of course, in terms of his physical build, he has really tremendous strength, just a hard, solid body. No wonder he can take the punishment that he has to take to stay on top of the heap, or at least right at the top of the heap. Watch his shoulders, Dory Jr. says to referee Charles Venator. Wanting to make sure that he gets a shot at a flash pin. He'll take it. A victory's a victory. And against Dick Murdoch, you can bet he'll take a victory in any way, shape, or form. As Dory Jr. told us last week during an interview, Murdoch was a snotty-nosed kid when I knew him back in Amarillo. I can whip his tail then, and I can do it now. Little forearm smash there on the break from Sonny Driver. Not exactly a clean break, but we've seen worse. Driver again forces Funk to the corner. Charles Venator asks for a clean break, doesn't get one. Driver pounds on Dory Jr. And Dory Jr. bangs that forearm against the jaw of Driver. Little tit for tat. Down goes Driver, that wicked forearm uppercut. Dory lifts Driver. Body slam. Dory Jr. Austin have a dandy body slam. Flying elbow drop by Dory Funk. He covers Driver, gets a count of one. Driver kicks free. And Dory Jr. clamps the head of Sonny Driver. Another thing that really makes Dory Funk Jr. so effective is the way he controls the pacing of a match.
5 minutes have elapsed, 10 minutes left.
You hear it often spoken about in other sports, how a team will force an opposing team to do their kind of game. In football, perhaps in hockey or basketball especially, where it's a constant flow of action, as it is in wrestling, a constant flow of action. Well, Dory Jr. controls that pace and makes people wrestle at his pace. And of course, that's what helps to make Dory Jr. effective, literally making them wrestle his match as he stretches out the arms of Driver with a surfboard hold. Dory ends up in the corner. He's a little reluctant to release those arms of Driver. Driver throws a punch to the rib cage and then pounds away those forearm smashes again on Dory Funk Jr. Side headlock by Driver. Greco-Roman back body drop by Dory Funk Jr. Just like that, bing bang, and down goes Driver. Count of one. Driver hard-pressed to get that shoulder up. He's been rattled. Thanks to Dory Jr.'s Greco-Roman back body drop and then the sizzling forearm uppercut. Driver pushed to the ropes and thrown across the ring by Dory Jr. Oh, Driver tried to kick Dory Jr. Dory stopped him. Drops him with the forearm. Spinning toe hold. The spinning toe hold by Dory Funk Jr. on Sonny Driver. Driver crying out in pain, and he submits. Dory Jr. immediately releasing the grip, which often has caused ankle and knee damage to his opponents when they failed to submit, and Dory Jr. really had to keep the pressure on for a long amount of time. It's the spinning toe hold by Dory Funk Jr. Dory's a winner, and here's ring announcer Mickey Garagiola.
In 6 minutes and 22 seconds, the spinning toe hold, the winner, former world champion Dory Funk Jr. Event, a one fall with a 15-minute time limit. Introducing from Denton, Texas, weighing 235 pounds, Kevin Von Erich. From Charlotte, North Carolina, weighing 236 pounds, Ron Starr. Referee Chuck Raleigh.
The fans here in the KPLR TV studio have a tough choice as Ron Starr and Kevin Von Erich shake hands. Who to root for? I imagine they'll try to split it and root for both because there should be some dandy wrestling involved in this. Starr goes behind Kevin. Von Erich switches nicely. He's behind Starr. Starr returns a favor, takes Kevin down, tried to roll him into a cradle. Kevin reaches behind him. Starr blocks that with the arm. Kevin brings Starr over the hip, comes up with a wrist lock on Ron Starr. Starr rolls over, gets Chuck Riley. Kevin Von Erich thrown over the side by Ron Starr. A fast-moving exchange that even involved the referee, Chuck Riley. Starr checks to make sure Riley's okay, which he is. A lot of referees will tell you a match like this with good, quick, scientific action is sometimes harder to work than a rough match. Clean break. The crowd appreciates it. Ron Starr with an arm bar, working also in the wrist area on Kevin Von Erich. Starr twists the arm of Kevin. Starr twisting some more, trying to force Kevin down to the mat. Starr really applying the pressure to Kevin Von Erich, and you can see right where that leg is, underneath the shoulder, making it even harder for Kevin Von Erich to regain his feet. So Kevin flips over, comes up, counters to a wrist lock, down goes Starr. Good move by Kevin Von Erich. Two good wrestlers here. How do you handicap one like this, Mick? Tough one to pick.
This is really tough. I mean, scientific and great. Two top wrestlers right here. This Starr is something else, you know?
Good counter there by Starr to go to the hammerlock on Kevin Von Erich. Kevin trying to come to his feet while trapped in the hammerlock of Ron Starr. Counter by Kevin Von Erich. This will be a good lesson on counters, takedowns, escapes. Starr comes up on top, goes behind Kevin. Kevin rolls over and out. They both come up quickly, and they're eye to eye. Good wrestling by both men, and they know it. They respect each other. Something that Dory Funk Jr. talked about last weekend when he said, well, I want to wrestle him, but I respect him too. I don't know if Dory Jr. has that much respect for Dick Murdoch, though. He respects his toughness, I'm sure, and the fact that he's won many big matches. But whether or not he respects him in terms of a professional level of the type of tactics that Murdoch uses, well, that I would question whether Dory Jr. has that type of respect for someone like Dick Murdoch. He apparently does for the Von Erich clan. Ron Starr with the side headlock on Kevin Von Erich. Wonder if Starr is thinking about that body scissors Kevin has been developing. He can use it both as a pin, and we hear now as a submission. He's developed enough strength in his legs. It's very important, of course, the positioning of the legs, the extension of the muscles so that they're in the proper spot of the opponent's body. Starr twisting back on Kevin Von Erich's head with that side headlock. Of course, a lot of the fans have seen some of the pictures that were contained in the wrestling program of that body scissors. Flying tackle by Starr. And that showed photos of hip toss by Kevin Von Erich. Kevin kicked away by Starr. No body press there. Side headlock by Starr. Down goes Kevin. As we were saying, it was actually a sequence of photos which showed Kevin starting out on the burlap bag. Full bag, full of, I believe it was wheat at the time. Kevin put the body scissors on that bag, and as he can do very often now, literally squeezed it, smashed the bag wide open, and emptied that bag. Now think, if he can do that with a burlap bag around wheat, that is difficult to do. Try it sometime. Find out how hard it is to do. Think what he can do to someone's midsection.
Yeah, I hate to see that happen.
There's the head scissors by Kevin Von Erich. Starr ended up in the ropes, and Starr has to shake his head. That head scissors is obviously just as effective as the body scissors.
The one thing about Von Erich, he's got that drop kick, they got that claw hole, and then, you know, they got so many holes.
So many things you can think about and worry about. That body scissors, really a hole that he got the idea from Joe Stecher. Joe Stecher, by way of saying much, the guys to say, because I believe Stecher was dead by the time Kevin was born. Stecher was a three-time world heavyweight champion, originally winning the title in 1915. His last reign began when he won it here in St. Louis in 1925.
5 minutes have elapsed, 10 minutes left.
Joe Stecher popularized the body scissors, used it as a submission hold, and like Kevin, trained by breaking open bags of wheat. Sam Muchnick was aware of this. He'd seen Stecher when Sam was a sports writer for the old St. Louis Times, and when he saw Kevin, the power that Kevin had in his legs, he got Kevin aside and says, Kevin, this is something you should think about. He explained a little bit about it to him. Kevin did some research on his own, and with the help of his father and brother David, trained on strengthening those legs, and now that body scissors is just about perfected. Starr carrying Kevin Von Erich to the corner. Kevin lifted over the side. Chuck Rowley wants a clean break and gets one from Ron Starr. Another round of applause for two sportsmanlike competitors, Ron Starr and Kevin Von Erich. Kevin with a leg dive, doesn't get there. Starr eluded it. Both men pretty quick. Right now it's like a chess match. Each one's looking for a little opening. Well, where can I get into this guy? What can I do to him to slow him down or get him down on the mat? Starr shakes his head. You're not going to get me that way. They tie up. Starr moves behind Kevin Von Erich with a full Nelson. Kevin, will he try to muscle his way out of it? He's just behind for Starr's head. Couldn't pull him forward. Kevin flexing. Drops out. Beautiful move by Kevin Von Erich. Starr managed to roll him away. Good escape by Kevin Von Erich. Starr shakes his head, and I think it's as much an admiration and respect for Kevin's ability as anything. Starr with a fireman's carry. Comes up with an arm lock on Kevin Von Erich. Starr puts his knee against Kevin's head. Kevin rolls under, forcing his way to his feet. No, he's not coming off that knee because Starr has the leverage right now. Starr pulling on the arm of Kevin Von Erich. Pretty even so far. A lot of good moves by both men. Oh, Kevin got out and came up flying with a drop kick. Kevin landed heavily, and Starr got tagged just on the face. He almost got away, but not quite. And Kevin landed heavily himself because his drop kick was not totally accurate, and that allowed Starr to regain the arm bar on Kevin Von Erich. Kevin hooked the leg. He was going to go for the fireman's carry. Starr realized it and lifted that leg away. The two men end up in the ropes. Clean break by Kevin Von Erich. Well, neither man's had much of an edge yet. No near pins. Pretty even so far. Good test. A good demonstration of holds. I don't think the match between Dory Funk Jr. and Dick Murdoch is going to be quite like this. Murdoch's a heck of a wrestler. Don't kid yourself. He knows what to do. He knows the holds. He knows the escapes. He knows how to get those quick little cradles that mean victory sometime. That could end up a war. And I'll tell you, when Kevin Von Erich takes on Bobby Duncum, Duncum's a totally different type of opponent than Ron Starr. Duncum, much bigger, coming in around 290 pounds. He's a brawler. He gets in there, uses his weight, leans on him, into him constantly, using his weight and his size, trying to wear down an opponent. And of course, he has that bulldog headlock, which has been very effective for him. So Kevin Von Erich, first with Ron Starr, and then, of course, coming up with Bobby Duncum. Two tough tests for Kevin Von Erich. Two totally different styles. Starr dumps Kevin over and gets his arm free. Kevin says, pretty good. Good move. A little bit of congratulations from Kevin Von Erich, which doesn't change the fact he'd love nothing better than to get Starr's shoulders on that mat. Short arm scissors by Ron Starr. Figure four arm lock if you prefer that tag to it. Whatever name you apply, that is a very good hold. And that could be a toughie for Kevin to get out of. Kevin rolls over. Starr rolls right with him. Good move by Starr there. The short arm scissors by Ron Starr and Kevin Von Erich. And even in a match like this, with two scientific wrestlers involved, two men who believe in sportsmanship, tempers can get frayed, get hot. You get angry, something doesn't work right for you, the perspiration's in your eyes are burning a little bit, you're getting a mat burn. Pretty easy to lose your temper in there. Rolling short arm scissors now by Ron Starr. Hey, this could be followed up by a pin or a submission. Ron Starr with the rolling short arm scissors, bringing Kevin Von Erich over once more.
10 minutes have expired, 5 minutes left.
They rolled and rolled and rolled. Kevin managed to jackknife himself back over on top. They ended up in the ropes, and once more, clean break by both men. Side headlock by Kevin Von Erich on Ron Starr. Kevin tossed to the ropes. Hip toss by Starr. Kevin hangs on, but it's Starr who comes up with the hold. Kevin had a good idea hanging on to the arm, but Starr countered quickly inside, came up with that short arm scissors once more on Kevin Von Erich. This is the type of hold that can cut off the blood flow to Kevin's hand, and you'll have to watch that carefully. It really could immobilize that left hand. Oop, look out, Starr was in a cradle. That's as close as we've been to a pin there. He had a count of two on Starr's shoulders, and it caused Starr to release the short arm scissors. Another warm round of applause for Ron Starr and Kevin Von Erich. Cautiously, tentatively, they reach out, lock fingers. Test of strength between Ron Starr and Kevin Von Erich. Both men bending, twisting, trying to find out where the edge is. They come around backwards, come around frontwards. Kevin comes out, gets a wrist lock. Good work by Kevin Von Erich on Ron Starr. Starr tossed over the hip. Kevin with the wrist lock. Starr cries out as Kevin pours on the pressure with that wrist lock. Now Starr twists about. Couldn't bring it all the way over. Too much pressure from Kevin Von Erich.
Three minutes left, 3 minutes.
3 minutes remain in a very even battle between Ron Starr and Kevin Von Erich. Kevin tripped down by Starr. Kevin counters nicely to the hammerlock on Ron Starr. Kevin Von Erich with the hammerlock. Chuck Riley is told by Starr that Starr will not give up. Kevin twists that hammerlock even further up behind the back of Ron Starr. You're going to have to earn it, says Kevin to Ron Starr. Starr with a fireman's carry breaks the arm free. Starr was going to pounce. Kevin was already poised to spring. Starr locks both arms, double arm lock. He might be able to flip him over with a double arm suplex, but Kevin can get underneath too. Double arm suplex by Starr. He goes for the pin. Count of one. Kevin Von Erich throws off Ron Starr. Starr going for the vertical suplex. Yes, the suplex by Ron Starr. This could be it. No, not even a count of one. And Kevin Von Erich survives the suplex. Von Erich with a blow to the stomach and then a drop kick. Floors Ron Starr. Kevin trips the legs to dump Ron Starr. Leg snap by Kevin Von Erich. The leg snap. Yanking back on that hamstring, snapping it, hurting it. Elbow smash to the head by Ron Starr. The match getting a little rougher now. The temper's getting a little bit more worn. Kevin Von Erich flipped to the ropes. Oh, they both tried drop kicks. Both men tried drop kicks, and both men go down. They'll have a count of 10. Starr was up for the drop kick, just as Kevin Von Erich went up to try a drop kick himself.
1 minute left, 1 minute.
Only a minute remaining. Kevin lifts Starr, body slam by Kevin Von Erich. He covers Starr, but cannot keep those shoulders down. Kevin hits the rope. What's this? Giant splash? Oh, he missed. Starr rolled away. The giant splash missed. Starr mounts the ropes. Starr with the atomic drop, and he misses. Starr trying to dive bomb Kevin Von Erich off the ropes, but Kevin had enough presence of mind to roll away. Both men a bit the worse for wear right now. Kevin whipped to the ropes. Starr tries to flip him. Jackknife and cradle. Jackknife and cradle. Count of one. Oh, and Starr rolls those shoulders off. There's the body scissors. There's that body scissors, and Starr goes for the ropes. The body scissors by Kevin Von Erich, and Starr had to go for the ropes to save himself. Oh, that body scissors was on Ron Starr, and Starr is gasping as he comes up. There's the bell, and we may almost have seen the debut of that body scissors as a submission hold on television, but they were too near the ropes, and as soon as Kevin Von Erich put it on, Starr grabbed those ropes. They congratulate each other and are rewarded with a warm round of applause. They deserve it. Great match. Here's Mickey.
With time expiring, referee Chuck Riley declares the match a draw.
Good foul. Kevin Von Erich's been working so hard on that body scissors. You watch in slow motion as he clamps it on Ron Starr at the end of that match, and Starr desperately heads for the ropes. He knows how dangerous that body scissors is. It was quite a match between Ron Starr and our guest right now, Kevin Von Erich. Kevin, thanks for joining us after a hard match. Excellent match. Starr's a good competitor.
Well, thank you, Larry.
Of course, Bobby Duncombe will present some different problems.
Well, any wrestler, anytime he gets in the ring, he wants to come away with the win. But unfortunately, I didn't, but it was against a very tough competitor, and I'll say at least it wasn't a total loss because I learned a lot from him, and so I'm glad I wrestled him.
And, of course, now against Bobby Duncombe, you're talking about things like forearm smashes, kicks, big brute strength. completely different, really, from Ron Starr. How can you handle him with the body scissors, which almost beat Starr, be effective against Duncombe?
Well, now, the two styles are a lot different. A man like Duncombe, who you're talking about, is you don't know what to expect from him. You can get fist or a scratch in the eyes or whatever. But a guy like Ron Starr, I admire him. He gave me a fair match, and I really enjoyed it.
Are you satisfied with the development of your body scissors so far? It looked like you might have had a shot at getting Starr in that body scissors. How's it coming along?
The body scissor I'm really happy about it. It's my most powerful move. And as you were talking about Duncombe, it'll be very effective with him because I've studied him. He's got a good section between his short ribs and his pelvis, and you'd have to know a little about my hold, but that's where my hold is generated, in that area.
And now you're talking rib cage?
Just below the rib cage, right.
Would it be easier if you could show it on somebody?
It'd be a lot easier if I showed it.
Mick, want to come up? Hey, I'll do it. As long as you don't kill me. Will you promise not to break me in half like you do those bags of wheat?
I'll just show you. I won't hurt you.
Promised. Okay, let me give the microphone to Mickey here.
I'm glad you decided you're going to do it, Larry. May the best man win.
Just so he knows it's soft through here. Easy to hand me down?
Yeah, it'd be easier for you to get down.
Okay.
You want to put your hip. Okay.
What's important now? The placement of where the legs go across, or what?
Right here. Right here is his short ribs. And right here is kidneys and all sorts of stuff. And here's his hips. I like my legs like this.
You win. I give.
Wait.
Now put it a little tighter.
A little tighter, you saying that?
Oh, nice guy. Just think if he breaks bags of wheat like this, like he did to me.
This is how it goes, but when I really clamp them on, Larry, I get my back into it, and I kind of you can see where the pressure comes from.
Yeah. Now you can use this as a pin too, though, really, right?
Right. Well, if I want to use it as a pin, I'll grab you from here.
Yeah.
And I'll just roll you straight back like. Yes. Ask him.
Do you give up?
I gave up a long time ago.
We still got time.
Oh! Now I can see why that body scissors does the job. Wait a minute, here comes Ron Starr. Oh, man. And you weren't even squeezing. Ron?
Larry, I just got one little thing I'd like to say. I've been a professional wrestler for almost 8 years. I knew this guy when he was just starting into high school. And Kevin, I want to tell you, you got a bright future, son. And if ever you need a tag team partner, you can damn sure count on me.
Ron Starr, Kevin Von Erich, opponents with a lot of respect for each other. I'll tell you something, I got a lot of respect for that body scissors. Kevin, thanks a lot. Kevin Von Erich, Ron Starr. We'll be back with another match after this.